Oh, okay, good.
That was
Good.
for the finding committee, so that has to be rescheduled due to some technical issues.
Okay, that's it. Who else is here? I don't.
It's Kevin.
Oh, hi, Kevin.
Hi.
Kevin's online.
I am. I'm here.
Good evening, Kevin. This is Mac.
Good evening. Hey, Mac. How are you?
Well,
Hello.
I got a waterfront seat today.
Floor the agenda.
Call to order, establish quorum, report.
So do we have, so Patty sent out a bunch of units. Did she send one board packet out altogether?
Yeah, there's one that's like a gazillion pages, the floors, strings.
See tomorrow's meeting attachments.
And then there's additional.
It's a big, thick chunk of paper.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
But there's a lot to talk about. So thank you for putting it all together, Patty.
Hold on.
When did it come in?
4:56 p.m. on 22. It was the first one. And then, yeah. And then,
The other one, for 56, is 22nd, is the supplemental.
22nd, sorry.
yeah, and then I got, well,
419 at 4:43.
yeah, I'm working on the 422.
How are you?
Board packet.
Hi.
Yeah, the 422.
You're not
has,
sick
like,
of me?
the
Matthew
pool,
Mark?
the pool,
If
the
it's not in
bar,
last week.
and then like a 13, 14 meg.
Jason,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm here, Patty.
Another email with
you're not sick of
various
me anymore?
other attachments.
Yeah,
I don't think you can hear it there.
I can hear you, but there's some crosstalk going on.
It's okay. I'm doing what I can.
analysis, suggestion, which is-
Patty, which board package are we going by that you sent out? Because there's a couple of emails you sent out.
Yes, I send updates, but the most recent one was,
Second.
yeah, that's 435, yes. Yeah,
456.
but yes,
All right.
and it was just a little bit of.
I had 4.
Yes, and then the part about that.
Is
Perfect.
John online?
I do not see him.
Okay,
So we had 4, which gives us a quorum. Did it go on
I
that?
think April's on too.
Yes, it was able to Kevin and Jason.
We will also need minutes. Patty, are you okay taking minutes tonight?
Yes, to both of you.
Was that a yes to me, Patty?
Yes.
I'll have to register.
All right, the time is 6:06, Thursday, April 25th. Calling to order this meeting of the FHRW Ranch West Homeowners Association. We have a quorum, myself and Mac and Rebecca are in the room. We have, who do we have online?
Jason, Kevin, and April.
Fantastic. Quorum is established. President's report is the first thing. I don't have anything significant to report, but I do want to talk about something that we've been kind of kicking the can down the road on this. And it's something we need to update. Residents have called it on us, other people have called us. So we need to update spending authorities. You want to do that now? You think it's a good idea to do that now and just knock it out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, open to discussion. So previous to last year, spending authorities were 1,500 for the HOA manager, 1,500 for the president. And anything above 2,500 from the operating funds had to go to the board. And then, let's see, the social committee's carte blanche was 800. Then we basically eliminated all spending authorities last year due to fiscal dire straits. And so now we need to re-implement these spending authorities. So for opinions on the matter, I go first to Rebecca and then anyone else that wants to opine.
I think the previous spending limits are probably reasonable. I don't know if there's a proposal, if anybody feels like they were unreasonable or restrictive in any way, but I think having $1,500 a month. Patty, the only one I would be concerned about is maybe your spending authority, just for like, when you have to replace the game room, equipment and those types of things, they can get or if we, I think we had like a pump break that we had to, that was like $900, so that eats up your whole budget for the month, that kind of thing.
And that quickly.
But I think
So
these
something
are
like that.
per incidents, right? They're not per month.
See, I have to-
There was no specific verbiage in the last spending authority, so we
Yes.
also need to decide that.
Yeah.
Do we want it to be per incident or per month?
Personally, I would probably, I would prefer to have a limit per month. Because otherwise, if you have, 8 $2,500 incidents and we don't have the money in the budget, we may overdraw an account, kind of thing, especially some of the. small,
Agreed.
Properties, so I do think having a spending limit per month is prudent.
Okay.
You think 25, do you think 1,500 would be enough then?
I think I need your kind of input on the spending limit for the property manager, because I have been concerned thinking that there was, we have the spending limit that we
Right.
know we probably need to manage within, and I was concerned about having $1,500 for you, or we might have these itty bitty things having to go to the board.
Right, like one of the proposals today for the pool deck was 850, I believe.
Yeah.
I could have had that done already
Mhm.
if I had the authority. It was not an emergency, and that's why I didn't approve it and ask for approval before.
Right, so, yeah, and I agree, I think we should have it, it's observed, it's never been abused that I'm aware of. And it is timely, if there's more than, and I'm 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, I'm okay. If it's more than that, there's nothing that prevents us from having a fairly quick emergency meeting to approve,
Mhm.
or, in an emergency, a bona fide emergency, then we just need to do it, and then we regroup and, you
And then
communicate
we'll
that,
round up, right.
that's how I look at it.
Mhm.
Let's go out to our.
Online, any opinions?
I just had a question about how would that be communicated to the board after the fact for the property manager or anybody else, so that we could be tracking kind of what decisions were made, why they were made, because I'm assuming they'd be made in some kind of a emergency situation or short term, and that's why they're not being brought to the board. So what would the communication be post
It would be at the board meeting in my board management report.
for you? What about for the president, for anybody else?
I mean, Mark doesn't spend money.
I don't have a card, so I don't spend any money on
Right.
this.
It's,
I thought there was a president one put in.
The only way that, I guess the only reason to give the president additional funds is to authorize the property manager to spend more funds.
Right.
Yeah,
And-
that's what I was gonna suggest. I think. the
Okay.
others that we have are probably okay. I think Patty's limit at $1,500 is a little bit low. I've seen months where we are really getting close to that limit, so. And it's not just like, we might have a break fix, we might have a fence repair, we might have, game room supplies that need to be, cue balls or paddles or whatever, and that stuff adds up pretty quick, when we also have to spend, money on paper towels and toilet paper and those types of things, that sort of, petty cash, if you will, runs out pretty quick. So I
So-
suggest maybe increasing that to 2,500 for Patty to give a little breathing room in those situations where we do have emergencies during the month.
Mhm.
And
I think that's a great idea.
Shannon,
I just say, I think $2,500 is a great idea. The cost of everything. I mean, go to the grocery store. Everything costs more money nowadays. So $1,500 is not a lot to get things done. So I think increasing it to 2,500, I would be completely okay with that.
2,500 for Patty. And then with what do we think, 1,500 for the president to bump up Patty in the event that she runs out of funds? We get
Yeah.
approval?
So that would give you a total of $4,000 combined between Patty and Mark, or the president. So in a month, I think that's a substantial amount of money to get things done. And if we needed to, after that, if it was beyond that money, we could call a real quick special session, emergency session, vote on it and move forward. So that's my opinion of it. I think it's a Patty to 2,500, the president to 1,500. Anything beyond that would be an emergency session, but they have the leeway to do what's right within the 30 days with that much money.
Like it, sounds good. And then what about reserve funds? So let's see, anything above, so the old spending authority was above 2,500 in operating funds, majority, okay, so that was, we addressed that.
Yeah.
And it says any reserve funds, majority vote of the board at a duly called meeting. Do you want to keep that the way it is?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, reserves are very specific, and I think the board should concur in getting into the reserves.
Okay.
Our stuff is different, that's a.
Yeah, you gotta run things, right? You can't let
Absolutely.
something broken sit for a month.
I think for the, one thing that I'll just throw out there for for the, like, the committees, for the social committee in particular, for the events, we do have the deposit account, so we have the sort of the account that we're holding lake rentals to help fund those things.
Right.
So I would say, anything, most of the events are relatively low cost. I mean, we're talking, $500 or $600, but like when we do bounce houses, we might have to pay $1,500. So I think as long as we keep that within $2,000, as long as it doesn't exceed what we have in the deposit account for lake house rentals, then I think we are able to use that money, so we can use up to up to $2,000, as long as it doesn't exceed what's in the deposit account. If we have to go to the operating funds for that, then I think we should talk about it.
So I think that, first off, the social committee is the only one that really needs money, right?
Yes, I was going through, and the only one is just the planning committee right now.
Planning committee doesn't need money, our committee doesn't need money.
Maybe the election committee.
The election committee will need money for signs and things eventually.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not an emergent
Correct,
thing, right?
correct.
That's just. they
You're gonna
plan
know,
ahead.
you're gonna know ahead of time.
And we should have that budgeted those things should be budgeted.
Right.
So I don't know that we have to, as long as it's within the budget.
It's not a parliamentary system where elections can pop up anytime.
And I mean, in some ways, the social stuff is also budgeted and brought before the board before the events. They're usually reserved and taken care of before the event. So what kind of emergencies would the social committee need outside of the approved events and their costs?
No, it's if I have to pay for something in advance. The DJs I was paid for after, but the Easter Bunny, and the Santa, we had to pay 50% down, and then we got 50% at the time. So, we don't want to take the chance on missing out on any.
Spending authorities are not for emergencies.
No.
It's just to run business.
Mhm.
It's for operating.
Right.
So
Well,
it's,
I would say the social committee would have to. I don't know that the social committee would have a need beyond broadcasting here's the event we want to do. Here's what we're gonna budget for, and here's what we want to go ahead and, like, that should be done ahead of time already
you
for the
need to-
event.
You need to put in deposits to lock in anything for anyone. So the money that is required to put those deposits down needs to be readily available. I mean, if you have kids and you try to go get a bouncy house, if you don't have your credit card ready when you book it, you're not getting it. So it's paid in advance. It's not paid after the fact. And if
No,
we're
I get
booking
that.
things, right? So if we're booking things out, you have to hold the slot. Right. And if things change, you can always get a refund on a deposit, especially since it's a deposit held with a credit card, just like any other person. But they have to have some flexibility in order to get all those things together. If they can't have the flexibility to get the things together, and if we're working off of a budget that has already been established and we know what monies have been spent as a whole, maybe not individually or itemized, but if we say, okay, well, this year's the Santa Claus event costs us $3,500. I don't know what it costs. It's a round number. It's just for hypothetical. We should say, okay, well, it's going to cost us at least $3,500 again to do it next year. And we budget for that. And that should be the operating expense that they use. If they need to go beyond the $3,500 because Santa Claus now costs exponentially more, or the cost of Easter eggs cost more, then they need to come back and ask for extra money. But if they're operating within what has historically been the normal amount of money, I don't see why we would need to do that. Give them some flexibility to do that so that they can hire the vendors and get the best things together for the community. And, that's my opinion. I don't think we need to
That's why we have a committee.
vote on every dollar that's going to be spent. If we already
I
have
don't
it
think it's a matter
budgeted
of-
and if it's
Right.
already budgeted and we already know that it's $3,500 for Santa Claus. So then the committee should be able to take the $3,500 that's historically been spent and use that same amount of money as their budget, and which is already approved, which we've collected the money for. And if they exceed that, then they should come to the board and say, listen, it's going to be $3,900. We need you to approve another $400. But up to that $3,500, which would be based on what has historically been spent, I think we should give them the leeway to do what they do and not hamstring them.
I disagree a little bit. I believe that the social committee should come forward and say, hey, this is our projected events for the year. Here's how much we'd like to budget towards each event. And that's when they've done that, I don't have any issue with them working within that.
That was, if
But that
I'm
hasn't
correct,
been done.
right?
this
If I'm not
year.
correct, though, but it has. It was done in last year's budget. If I'm not correct,
but for this-
then Rebecca can correct me. But my
I think-
understanding is that it has already
Kevin?
been established.
Kevin, I think they gave them an overall budget last year, but I would say that budget was not based on all the information we have since learned about the financial status of the sets of communities that we have here. So I
In what
do
way?
think
If that was social committee budgeted money and there's $21,000 budgeted for it, it's social committee budgeted money.
Kevin, can I finish my recommendation? I've heard your stance. I'd
I'm
just like to give a different
I'm
opportunity.
asking you a question.
Right.
I'm just asking
And
a question.
I'm asking you to let me finish. What I'm saying is they were given $21,000 last year, but it was not specifically broken out to different events, nor was it dictated as to what they were going to be doing next year. So when the new social committee comes in, as they did this year, I would expect the new social committee to say, this is our budget of $21,000. Okay. Board, we would like to do the following events this year, XYZ. We would like to allocate about this much to each event, XYZ. And then the board, the new board, the sitting board can say, yes, we agree. No, we don't. Have we thought about this? We'd like to see this event as well, to help give some basis for some guidance before they just go and start assuming that they have $21,000 to do with what they want. That's what I'm asking for. We're not nickel and diming them. We're not asking for every little thing to be budgeted ahead of time and approved. What I'm saying is, throughout the year, tell us what the events look like. Tell us about how much you want to spend. You can base it on last year's budget. That would be great. But nobody on this board is tracking any of that information. And when you ask for it, you're told to kind of go pound sand. So I do have a concern right now, and I'm not ready to approve that statement for the social committee until we have had the opportunity to get, hey, here's the events for the year. This is where we're currently at budget wise, and here's how we'd like to break out the rest of the money for the year.
So
After we have done that as a board, have no issue with them working within their budgets that we've approved to work within to do what they need to do.
Can I talk? Or are you done? I don't want to step over you. Okay. So if I've been to every board meeting since I've taken this responsibility on, and if my memory serves me, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, we did have a member of the social committee come to a board meeting in which they highlighted that they were going to do one major event per quarter: Christmas, Easter eggs, summer, and a Halloween, like a trunk or treat. Those were the 4 anchors. And so that was already conveyed to us. Maybe you weren't at the meeting. Maybe it wasn't conveyed to the point that you understood. I don't know, but I know that being at that meeting, it was conveyed. There were 4 anchors, 1 per quarter, and that's what the money was going to be used for. So that commitment or that expectation was already fulfilled in my point of view. If they already
what
said
I
they're
asked
going to do
for
4 anchors, and if
with
there's 4
also the
anchor
budget for
accounts,
each. There was no budget given, no estimate provided. What if they spent $20,000 on Christmas and then $500 for each of the others? None of that has been communicated
realistically, that wouldn't happen.
We don't know
mean,
that because we're not putting anything in place to have that kind of communication, Kevin.
We
That's what I'm asking
we haven't
for.
we
I'm asking
haven't
for
given carte blanche
communication.
for $21,000 to be spent. That's not what we've done. What we have said is, what I suggest is, if we look at last year's budget, that should be the amount that they have to secure all of the things needed to put down deposits and not to exceed what last year's budget was. So as a cumulative, it won't exceed $21,000.
So if that was the case, they did not do that for Easter. They overspent their budget for Easter, and they did it prior to the board vote. We voted on something that had already been obligated without any say in the matter whatsoever, and it was more expensive than the previous year's event. That's why I'm saying we need to have better communication with the social committee. I don't think we're quite there yet, and I'd like to have better communication, especially given what happened for Easter.
You're looking at 60/30.
I'm looking at 15, 1252.
What budget are you looking at?
That's the one I printed out, though. Looks like-
Looking at the budget 2024.
This is the one that was posted. Externally.
Yes, I should have listened.
Okay, can I weigh in for a minute here?
Who's that? Is that Jason?
It's Jason, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so for anyone that doesn't have context and just to get it out in the open, this discussion we're having right now stemmed from an email that went out at 10 a.m. this morning. And I'll quote from it. It was a request from the social committee to get a $5,000 budget approved by the board at the meeting tonight. So the social committee did ask for us to approve a budget for them, which I think is completely appropriate. The board needs to approve budgets for individual events. That's our responsibility, period, dot. I don't think it's unrealistic, and it's great that we have, the overall budget and the four corner post events for the year. I don't think it's unreasonable for the board to ask for an update for what's planned for each of those events in advance with at least a little bit of information. Hey, we want to spend roughly this much on these big ticket items for that event, and that's the plan. And I think as the board, we should
So,
probably,
I hear your point. I think though that the board needs to tell the social committee how much money they can spend.
Yes.
So they don't waste time planning things and contacting vendors and getting quotes when they won't be able to pay for it.
And
right, so
I'd
let's-
like to just interject something here. So the real question at hand is what should be the, flexibility for them to go spend. So my suggestion here, and I agree that we need to give them a budget. We need to be clear
Yeah.
about what they have to spend per event.
Mhm.
And they do, and we have monthly, committee updates where they're coming to the board, they're talking about their plans, they're telling us what they're doing. I do think it's appropriate that they inform us, but if they need to put a deposit down for one of those events and we have given them a budget to use, we shouldn't have to wait to the next board meeting to get that approved, to make the deposit. So, because the timing doesn't work out very well. So it just, it's a barrier to, operation essentially. So I think we have to be somewhat flexible in the fact that we give them a budget, we expect them to maintain that budget. I absolutely agree. If they're going to exceed that budget, they need to come ask for it. But I do think that we need to give them flexibility to go put the money down when we know that these events are coming and we give them a clear, expectation on what's available to spend.
I agree.
Will add.
So Rebecca, I agree as well.
He's not done.
We haven't
Rebecca's
had that
not
communication yet,
speaking.
that's all.
April, Rebecca's not done speaking.
So one other thing just to keep in mind is that we have a budget for events every year, but we also have the lake house rentals, which are used to fund additional things. So my point at the beginning of this was, if we have, we give them a budget, if it's $2,000, whatever it is per event, we also have flexibility in that rental income from their lake house to use for additional needs, where we have larger expenses. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understands, it's sort of like a slush fund for the social committees, depending on how much we actually raise in lake house rentals. So I did want to just highlight that. It gives us a little bit of breathing room.
And
That's
excuse
excellent.
me,
That's good.
As of.
I do think,
Hold on.
Rebecca, I think we're on the same page as you. Although I would say the slush fund, especially right now, given a lot of these expenses that we weren't expecting this year, I don't think it should be automatically tied to the social committee. I think there's a way to give that additional money to them as needed, but I don't think it needs to be an automatic tie that that rental money is for the social committee. especially when we have unexpected things happening or discussions like, do we get a pool attendant or not? Where is that in the budget?
Yeah.
We need to have the flexibility to take that money too. And I don't think tying it automatically to the social committee is maybe the best idea. That's all.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. I mean, if we have things that we have to pull out of that, lake house rental for other expenses, then we have to make the decision as a board.
Yeah.
But that's the intent of having that money in a separate account that we can, and it's taxable, so it's, we have to, it's something else to be considerate of.
But I'd like to make one note, this is Mac. But the lake house is a community, venue that gets closed and earns money for the community. And I honestly think the priority should go towards back to the community through social events, or if there's a specific need that's going to create an amenity for them. I feel comfortable that that's staying within the spectrum of what we're trying to do, and it closes, but it gives back. So, and I think that just like the CAM needs the money to operate, the social committee needs the flexibility to operate and execute these events. And they did ask for a budget, so they asked for $5,000. So that's the budget. If it needs to go over, they have to come back to the board and explain why it's going over. And, I think that's reasonable. And
So,
I was aware that we're doing 4 events and we have $21,000. So they're approximately $5,000 each. And then if we need more, we need more. So I'm a
And-
huge supporter of this.
this is Jason. I agree with Mac and Mark and Rebecca and everyone that we need to give them an operating budget, right? And let them spend within that budget. But the request for their budget in this case came at 10 a.m. this morning. And when somebody asked, can you give us a little bit more information to decide yes or no on this budget, the communication that was necessary didn't happen. So in this case, it was, same day, short notice, it was insufficient notice and insufficient communication. We need to have some kind of system set up where it's a little bit further in advance, and the board members, including myself and everyone else on the board, has the opportunity to ask questions and give inputs. And then, yes, let's give them a budget and vote on it and approve it and let them use that budget as they see fit. But in this case, that hasn't happened. So let's do that.
Jason, let me go. I let everyone else speak. Let me speak for a second. So if what you're saying was actually true, then that would be totally reasonable. If it was, hey, I'd like to get $5,000. Oh, well, what do you got planned? Oh, well, we're doing a bouncy house and we're gonna do a water slide. We're gonna get a DJ, the food trucks, and then that's it. That's what we're gonna do. Oh, okay. Easy day. That's an easy answer. What was asked for was all last year's events and costs. This year's projected costs and cost estimates. This year's starting budget, current expenses, and remaining budget. Itemized list of what is projected for the $5,000. It's a very extensive research project.
So Mark, would you agree that was perhaps not the most effective response to this request?
Well,
And that again, communication did not happen effectively in this case, but I think those are valid costs, especially for a new board working with a new committee and trying to figure things out. And I think the timing was poor, and maybe the means of it was poor. But I don't think we should shut down those questions or the need to get those answers.
oh yeah,
Based
absolutely.
on this timing being an unfortunate situation.
We can get the answers to those questions, but they're going to take a couple weeks. And in the
Right,
meantime, we got to start
and
looking.
okay, so let's have a discussion, but we haven't discussed what or why we're going to make it $5,000. Do we need to make it $5,000? Could they? What are their basic plans? Do they need 3,500? Do they need 4,000?
This is the issue I turn back to. The board will authorize how much money will be spent per event. So how much money do we want to authorize for the social committee so they know what they're working with? Because they're not going to go talk to things. So how much do we have authorize for a Summerfest event? Let's just cut to the chase here. How much do you want to authorize? Or do you want to cancel?
We
So the question would be,
we have 4 10
how much was done last
right?
time?
So
What
we
you
have
saying?
4 tentpole events. We have 4 tentpole events, right? The 4 major ones: Easter, Christmas, Halloween, and the summer event. We have a $21,000 budget. If you just divide that by 4, that's $5,000 event. And you can rob Peter to pay Paul within that, but as a starting point, just to get things going and get it off the ground, I would suggest that we start with $5,000 for the Summerfest as requested, and anything more than that needs to be approved by the board so that we can start to get all of the pieces and puzzles and deposits down, because if we wait another month, we're going to be into May.
Or Kevin, what if we
All of
what if we
that.
authorized 1,500 or 2,000 to make deposits, to put deposits,
That's one bouncy house. That's like one bouncy house.
to put
It's
deposits. Not gonna-
$900 to get a water slide for one day.
Right, so just deposits,
Right now.
$2,000 to make deposits, half the budget to make deposits, and then come back to us and say, hey, we've made these deposits, we'd like the rest authorized, or something like that. Would that be reasonable?
I think 2,000.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so we were just talking, we heard you guys agree with all. Mac and I
So
want to pull
this-
back to the original topic of discussion, which is the blank, the spending authority amount per, just a blanket event. Like if the social committee is like, hey, we got some extra money, we want to throw an event, what can we spend up to just to have an impromptu event? And so that amount was previously 800. What amount do we want that to be? With that, before they have to come to the board and ask for permission to spend money on an event.
I don't think they should be able to go throw an event without coming to the board first.
Well, all right,
And
April, can I jump in? I think I agree with you here. They have to come to the board first and say, we are going to have it, and we will plan on spending $5,000. So the board is authorizing expenditures of $5,000 towards that event. I'm just using the number, just like they did today. And then, as they then start to plan and say, that's the $5,000, you then go, okay, we need to commit. What we're asking for here is, once the program is approved with a not to exceed cost, then they have the ability to operationalize that by spending up to X amount. I think that's the conversation we're having. That's what this entire topic was.
Yeah.
Should they have to spend for an event after the overall not to exceed price is there? And boards do that all the time. You can do that not to exceed, right? And then you have to then do it. So what do we want to give them for per event, not carte blanche at any time they want to do it? And I think someone put $2,000 on the table and he asked for questions. I'm comfortable with $2,000. You know, I think we just need to nail it down, and we need to move on because we have visitors and we've got a lot to do. Sorry, I'm taking
So
over.
you're making a motion for $2,000?
I'm making a motion that we put $2,000 per event after the budget is approved for an event. Approve the budget for the event, then they can spend towards it. They can't
can I
spend.
counter with $1,000 for deposits? That's probably all they'll really need. And after they get the deposits, they'll have a better idea if they need more or not.
So we're kind of talking, there's an effective communication here.
Right, but no, so the procedure, my motion is they will come to the board and get a budget, a not to exceed budget. And once that is approved, they can commit money and spend money on deposits and purchases to execute the event not to exceed $2,000. That's my motion. It's after the budget's approved, then they can do it. And I don't think we should micromanage, they shouldn't put this deposit, that deposit. They need to buy napkins, whatever they need to do. They keep records, they keep receipts, and they report it. So
Well,
that's the same as we're giving the CAM as they move forward. So that's my motion. And then I think we vote on it. If it gets voted down, it gets voted down. But that's,
Is there a
I'll second the motion.
thank you.
Jason?
I-
Discussion?
Discussion.
Discussion.
So the point of a spending authority is that they don't have to check with anybody, they can just spend the money.
That's it.
Okay, just making sure that I'm understanding.
After they have the budget. Budget set, then they have the ability to spend against that budget.
But if a budget is set, then they can spend up to the amount of the budget. that amount could be 2,000, it could be 10,000, right? That's the whole point of approving a budget for an event.
Okay, well, can I just interrupt? So when they're planning, because we have a social committee to plan, we want them to be able to make the decisions, what they want to do, feel out the, the contacts that they need, the vendors and everything, and then they have to put a deposit there. And then they come back to the board and say, okay, this is what we plan on doing, I need my full 5,000, but they already have money to put the deposits down first.
Right, I guess, okay, that's fine. I think it works either way, right? You could say,
Well,
I
it's
think
just waiting
you're
for
not gonna
30
spend,
days.
but we're not gonna add, but I think at that point, no matter what the budget is, they can't commit beyond the $2,000.
Before coming to the board.
Or
So can I,
why can't they
can
come
I-
to the
I
board
propose,
first?
I propose this, I propose $0. $0. The reason I say this is because we know we have 4 events.
Mhm.
So each time we're gonna do an event, the board says, okay, we're approving $5,000 for Easter.
Mhm.
Plan us an Easter party. We're planning $5,000, like a few months out, we know when it's coming. So like today, we know that they wanna do Summerfest June 6th.
Mhm.
So we approve it today. Here's your $5,000, plan the event. Yeah, because without an event, they don't need a spending authority.
Right.
So why do they need a blank check to write just money all the time anyway?
Correct.
And then once you approve the $5,000, that's it. Go put your deposits down, go pay for the event.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
Okay,
I mean, does that make sense?
fine.
Right now,
I agree with that. That's what I was saying from the beginning.
And so the question kind of at hand here is, does the board need to get more detail before we approve any budget for any event?
No, I think you need to tell them how much money they have to spend,
Exactly.
and then they got a plan.
Yeah, so that was gonna be my point, that I think that as a board, we need to have a calendar of events where we say in March or whatever, we approve, we're gonna have a summer fest, this is the budget, and social committee, come back and tell us your plan. And that way they know what their spending limit is right up front. They don't go do a whole bunch of work and then we shoot them down.
Sure.
All of those types of things. So I would agree, but I think it's on us to make sure that they know what their budget is.
And when they execute the $2,000 or they execute anything, then they're committing the money. And it's really shouldn't be paid in full, so then they're gonna know what they're spending it on. And it doesn't mean they can't return unless it's non-refundable deposits.
Correct. And we haven't done that
Right.
yet this year, but I do think that it's something that we should do going forward. So at the beginning of every quarter,
Mhm.
we figure out what the budget is for the next event. We can look at historical, we can look at some of those other things, we can see what we have left, other unexpected expenses, and then we figure it out and give them a budget.
Or
So
you can
it's-
ask that at the beginning of the year. $21,000, 4 major events,
Yeah.
plan $5,000 each, leave $1,000 leeway. And then you can adjust as you go through the year.
Some
Okay.
events are more expensive than others though, so having a flat budget may not make sense. So I do think when we go through the budget planning process this year, we should be really explicit about this, looking at historical costs for those events and then,
Exactly.
coming back and
But
then.
at the beginning of the year, you
later,
know.
We inform them, yeah. Mhm.
Jason, does that answer your reservations?
Oh, did we lose everybody?
I know
No.
I'm here, I'm
No,
trying to,
He's gathering his thoughts. I can see it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think through how I feel about it all. I
I would
apologize for
say
taking
like,
so long.
I do think it would be nice to, as a board, to be able to know kind of what's happening with the money and make sure we don't have any reservations or concerns or additional requests or requirements. Not that we're going to micromanage them, but I mean, it's just to say you got $5,000 and you go do with what you want with it. And then we show up to an event and we're like, oh, this is not what we thought, or
The
As-
social
But that
committee-
hasn't happened. I mean, it's not like these people are not living in the community and they're trying to embezzle the money to go run around and put a new jacuzzi in their backyard with it.
no one's
They're
saying that.
doing this as well, you're implying that with what you just
Not
said.
at all.
No,
anyways.
No,
absolutely
no,
not.
I did not say that.
That's
I did not say
unfair.
that at all.
Well, these people are volunteers who are doing this for the community, right? We need to be respectful of that. And we have to come with the assumption that they're there to do good and they're trying to do the right thing as a volunteer for the community as a whole. We know in the past, we've seen what events they've done. We know the caliber of the events that they've done. And one would expect them to go beyond that, to try to make them better, not to make them worse, because
Evan.
that's the whole point of them volunteering to do this.
With all due respect, Kevin, every year the social committee could be brand new and completely different. Where you can't make the assumption that everybody who's on the social committee was there last year or knew what happened or knew what was done or that they were here in the community before.
Spending authority from the social committee, and they have to request it a few months out.
Well, the board will approve.
The board will approve, yeah, but this is separate. We're talking about this document right here, the spending authority document.
Okay.
That you can go out and at any time, right, Patty can go out and pay a bill at any time.
Mhm.
The president can authorize Patty up to a certain amount to go out and pay a bill anytime. The reserve funds need to come to the board,
Mhm.
and social committee is just gonna be like the reserve funds. It's gotta come to the board.
Yes.
And I think, April, to address your concern, I mean, the social committee, all of the committees, honestly, are supposed to give updates at the board meetings every month. So if there's nothing to update, they're not here, but I think that is where we find out what they're planning and we can then negotiate with them
Yeah.
to.
Absolutely. That's
That's
the
all I
whole
want
idea.
is communication. That's all. That's all
Yeah.
I'm asking for. And that we have a better idea and we're all keyed in. So we're all on the same page because we're all part of the same team.
So the motion here was to change the spending limit for the social committee to 0. The social committee, the social committee will present their plans. We as a board will make sure that we're providing them a budget. And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Seconds.
Aye.
Aye.
Jason, aye.
All right, cool. We're through spending authorities.
Okay.
Treasurer's report. Wait, did I have anything else?
No, you're the president.
I know, I'm still president.
I do need these signed by the rest of the people that are. We have 2 people that have not finished the
What is this?
board certifications.
I'm sorry, say this again?
We have 2 people that still haven't finished the board certifications.
Patty, I just sent you mine tonight. Jason.
No, I got yours already.
They haven't,
You sent me yours when you first did it. You were the first one.
Yeah, but the form I had to sign, I just sent it to you tonight.
Oh, the form. Okay, thank you.
Signature form.
We have to sign something.
This at the very beginning.
Sorry. What do we have to? I know I sent the certificate. We have to sign something.
There were 2 classes that have to be taken, and then the signature saying, I sent you the form the other day after you sent me the certificate.
I had let
Okay.
it get buried in my email. It's in there.
Okay,
From
sorry.
Patty.
I'll go look.
And April, you're still behind on one of the classes also. We have to have 2, one from the attorney. And then.
Well, yeah, I haven't been given an option for when the attorney is available. So as soon as I know, I can get it scheduled.
John, I haven't received anything.
So.
Wait, 90 days.
The,
They're over 90
Patty,
days.
I'm turning to you. What do we have to do here?
We have to suspend the 2 members until they're back able to provide that information. State law. It's not me.
702.
We need to be able to cite chapter and verse on that before we take that action, though.
That's fine.
All right. There's no like. So the board written certification form. Chapter 720.3033. States within 90 days after the electing or appointing to a board, each director shall certify in writing to the secretary of the association that he or she has read the association's declaration of covenants, articles, incorporations, bylaws, and current written rules and policies, that he or she will work to uphold such documents and policies to the best of his or her ability, and that he or she will faithfully discharge his or her fiduciary responsibility to the association's members. Within 90 days after being elected or appointed to the board, in lieu of such written certification, the newly elected and appointed director may submit a certificate of having satisfactorily completed the educational curriculum administered by a division-approved educator provider within 1 year before or 90 days after the date of election or appointment. The written certification of education certification is valid for the uninterrupted tenure of the director of the board. A director who has not kindly filed a written certification or education certification shall be suspended from the board until he or she complies with the requirement. The board may temporarily fill the vacancy during the period of suspension. The association shall retain each director's written certification or educational certificate for inspection by the member for 5 years after the director's election. However, the failure to have a written certification or election certificate on file does not affect the validity of any board action.
So it sounds like there's two options. They can sign a form certifying that they read all the source documents and or do the educational course, right?
They have to do the attorney course, the educational course, and sign the document.
Mark, when you read that, it was or, right? It was all or,
So-
not and.
Yeah.
Yes, so you can sign these papers.
No,
No, so the board, actually, we made a board policy that every board member had to take
Right.
the class.
By law, they have to take the class.
Right,
But
so,
then with the
well,
attorney,
so by law, they can either sign this form or take the class.
That's what the law says, either or.
the attorney class,
It just says.
because by law, you have to take class, and after 2025.
Where does it say that? Mark didn't read that to us just now.
Did you pull up 720.3033?
I'll pull it up.
So it is, to me, listen. So you have to sign the paper
Saying that. you're-
certifying your ready.
The,
In lieu
the
of that,
educational
or
course
instead of
is
that, You
in
can
lieu of,
complete the
yeah.
course.
Mhm.
Now, this board made a policy that was more strict than this, that every director had to complete the course.
Mhm.
We did that, what, last year?
That was before, when you first
That
came
was
on board.
2022,
Mhm.
right?
So this board made it a policy that you had to do both.
Mhm.
It's board policy. Do you have that?
Don't, we've been on the second page.
This we should have done at the
All right.
Mhm.
In order to hold the board position, Fishhawk Branch West HOA, you're newly elected.
Oh, you have it at the bottom there?
Because this is when it passed at the January 6, 2022 board meeting.
Yeah, 2022.
Policies, board certification policy. I have it right here. In order to hold a position on the board of directors for Fishhawk Ranch West HOA, all newly elected board members must pass the board certification class offered by onlandcanforce.com within 60 days of serving as a director. This class fee will be reimbursed once the HOA has receipt of a passing test score adopted by board of directors as part of the meeting agenda on January 27th, 2022. So. We don't say anywhere that you have to take the lawyer course. Is that state law that you have to take a lawyer course?
Yeah, that's what. What I was saying, because he teaches to your documents.
Has everybody done the online course?
I don't know if John has. I have nothing on John. John's done the attorney course.
So John's in the attorney course, but he hasn't done the online. So I gotta go off what's written in black and white. All right, so I read the state law, I read our board policy.
Mhm.
So the board policies, you have to do the course, which is more strict than the state law.
Right now.
So if somebody hasn't done the course, then they gotta take a temporary leave of absence from the board until they have done the course. We didn't say in here about a lawyer. So that's, in my eyes, that's a nice to have, not a must have.
Mhm.
Unless you disagree, unless you know, see, you got something else that proves it.
Let me look at George's certification.
does the board policy from 2022 say anything about the board needing to make those courses available to board members?
It's
Because I didn't,
online, just sign up and do it at your leisure.
Right,
okay. May I make a motion? Since this obviously wasn't clear to every board member, what
But
if
it wa-
we,
got the email explaining it. And that's what frustrates me more than anything. I don't
So
wanna
can
be
I,
explaining it when I
I-
did.
Has everybody done?
When-
Everybody
I've
with.
done the certification.
Has everybody here present, have you, you've done the course? I did the course. Matt, you did the course?
I've done the course.
And I
did
did
the
it in
course.
2022. I didn't have to read.
You're good. Everybody online, you've done the course?
Yes. Okay,
I didn't do the course, but John, I don't know, he hasn't responded.
We don't know about John. We don't have a certificate
Okay.
from John.
Mm-mm.
And he's not here to vouch for himself saying he's done the
Right.
course.
Completed the educational curriculum requirement service. The board, for the board of directors, so this is from George.
Yeah.
And that's the certification course through the state,
Sure.
and then this is that Rebecca signed it, that.
Rebecca hit all three, just to make sure. Well done, man.
That's what I
I
told her
followed
to do.
instructions.
Gold star for you, man. Okay,
It wasn't hard, right? I put it in the
Okay.
email. What is-
so is John the only person outstanding then?
John is the only person that hasn't completed the course. So
and
is
Rebecca
part of the
didn't.
online CAM course to receive a brief from a lawyer? I doubt it.
No, it's not the same. One's one.
Okay, so it's different.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point then, John is the only one in violation, so motion to suspend John from the board until he completes his online course or can prove that he did.
Okay, and you're okay with April not having the attorney one?
April completed the course online.
She did the course, but not the attorney.
I mean.
So
she
with
should-
all due respect,
It's
I
very-
said when the attorney one was scheduled that I couldn't make it. And they said we would find another way to get you in front of the attorney, and it just never happened. So I did communicate ahead of time that I could not make that one session for the lawyer.
Okay. I mean, she, black and white, she did what's required.
Okay.
She completed the course. You have a certificate from her, right?
Yes.
Okay, she completed the
That-
course.
That's a closed matter,
John?
yeah.
Can't prove that John did or did not. He's not here and he doesn't have a certificate on file. So I say again, motion to suspend John from the board of directors until which time he can produce a certificate of completion from the state course.
And then everybody has to sign this, saying that they read the documents from start to finish.
Is there a second to the motion?
Rebecca said.
Second it? In favor or discussion first? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Did any, I only heard 4 ayes.
I got a hand from April.
Okay, thank you.
Again, as soon as he does the course, finishes the course, he's back.
Okay, so no negatives.
No negatives.
Okay,
Hopefully he's done it and he can
right,
just.
but this is required, is it not?
That's fine.
No,
That's
a course
for
or
two.
this, a course or this is
Yeah,
required,
so,
unless state laws
The
don't.
documents.
Hmm?
This is it, so you're saying they don't have to read the documents?
Right. According to the state law, now state law's changing in July, we're all gonna have to do 6 hours of training a year, every year. But. Any other curveballs?
We're gonna be here till 10 o'clock.
Okay, so next we got treasurer and then officer and then community manager and then committees. Do we,
do we want to,
motion to let, do we want to do landscaping first?
here, I would.
They do
whoever's
that,
here.
and then we have a
Extra.
two.
Oh, okay.
We have
All right, let's get through these beginning things. Treasurer's report first. I want to hear that.
Okay, the 2023 tax filing has been filed, the extension has been filed, so we wanted to prioritize getting the audits done and getting everything, stabilized and converted with BAS. So that has been filed and we'll work on that, next. The 2023 audit is basically finalized. We've provided everything to BAS. We have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. So we should be able to produce the final audit report for 2023 by next week, which is our deadline on Tuesday. So that'll be a good one. The good news is that from the preliminary feedback from the audit, they said it was very, very clean. And so going through the process was a lot smoother. So the only issues that they really had were the same issues that that were called out in the 2022 audit from the conversion. Next, BAS has finally started processing payables. So they've had a couple of batches now. They're working through and getting standard operating procedures established with us. So that's a huge benefit. we have been working with them now that the chart of accounts is essentially updated and we've got it in line with GAAP standards. And, you know, normal accounting, you know, chart of accounts. They are working through all the month-end reconciliations. So, I know we've had a couple of points or a couple of residents that have raised, we haven't yet posted the financials. And the reason why was because we were going through the updates on the chart of accounts. I didn't want to post them and then have them change and, you know, create confusion for people. So we know that those are coming, and I just wanted to let the community know we will post those very soon. We are continuing to improve and refine our processes with BAS. And I think one of the things we are looking for is, you know, cost savings. I mentioned, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for us to look at BAS for processing payroll. We've had some challenges this year with, you know, ACH connections failing with the current provider, and it's, you know, created some emergency, like, you know, let's get people paid situation. So it would be nice to have have everything under one roof, and that makes some continuity as we go forward in future years, you know, as the treasurer role changes over. So now that we've gotten things mostly settled, we'll start exploring those, you know, improvement opportunities. The check scanner, because we've been working on these other things, it's kind of been on the back burner. We haven't really gotten there, but Jennifer's just keeping things status quo. So we're operating as we have been and getting the deposits processed manually. But that is one of the things on the top of the list to get addressed. And that's really it for me. The other notes I have here are for some of the items in the packet. So any questions?
How is the, you had to rate us on A to F, how's the overall financial health of the HOA?
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk with this evening is some of the proposals for the pool. You know, the pool proposals came back to be much more significant. So I think that isn't something that we're going to have to work through the budgeting process this year for next year, and depending the approach that we take for that. So otherwise, you know, we have our total operating cash amongst the properties is $563,000 and change. Our our reserve funds are 1.6 million and change. So we have a very healthy reserve fund, and our operating funds give us plenty of room for, you know, managing the day-to-day activities that we're looking for.
Thank you so very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
I had one
Officer.
quick question. Sorry for the, I think the meeting that you weren't able to attend in March, we tried to do a preliminary approval for the lawn testing that we wanted to get done. But we were kind of waiting for the different individual neighborhood breakouts to come out so that we could make sure that there was enough money in each of them to fund the soil sample testing and stuff that we wanted to do. We held off because I think the budget wasn't.
April, that was.
It was.
It was up to
So,
Patty.
Right, no, but Patty, it was contingent. It was like, it was contingent on that the neighborhoods would have the money available in their budgets, because at the time, they still hadn't finalized everything because there was a lot up in the air based on transitioning stuff over. So it was, Mac, if you remember, we did a contingent, yes, up to $1,000. So we wouldn't have to revote on it again. That as long as the neighborhoods had the money that they needed to pay for them, then we could just start acting. But I hadn't seen the breakouts of the neighborhoods come back yet. I just wanted to ask Rebecca, everything's final, then we're good. There's no other questions about what's outstanding, what's not outstanding. Now that the audits and stuff have been rolling and the BAS is on board.
So April, if I remember correctly, the amount expected was pretty small. And if I remember correctly, it was Sagewood, Paired Villas, and the master. So all of those properties have enough money, and those are small dollars. So we would have, the only one I would be concerned about is a substantial cost for Westlake. So because they always Those are thin.
Yeah, I think the Sandpiper, I'll have to look at my notes. Sandpiper Crest also had a couple lawns as well that had to be done. I can, I've
And
got it.
it's not a concern. I think they were
Okay.
$60 a piece, and if it's a few lawns, there's
Right.
no,
I think the
Yeah.
bill was not to exceed $1,000.
yeah, total.
So I went back and I watched the video of this meeting. It happens at 15 minutes and 3 seconds is when Mac makes a motion not to exceed $1,000 for soil samples. I forget who seconded it, and it was approved. There was no contingency based on anybody's funding, but that is water under the bridge at this point, because Rebecca's saying we have the money,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, these are small dollars.
Very, very small, $60, $80 here,
Yeah.
$2 for shipping. Jason said he was gonna fly him up there, so
I think this
shouldn't be a
is,
problem.
yeah, and I think this is the kind of thing that you could go to Patty with, with those, the spending limits, and these are the types of things that I think we could spend it for, these small dollar things.
All right, so.
Awesome.
We'll move forward.
Good to go. Anything else for the treasurer? Other officer reports? The secretary is not here, vice president?
I think we covered pretty much everything. The request for the social committee was $5,000 for, for the 4th of July, the Summerfest, but they didn't have any background or details. And so I'd like to get those ahead of time so we could present you with kind of what the general plan is, and then what the last year's was and how we're doing.
We'll get to that in committee reports with when we get there. So that's a good thing to bring.
Awesome. Well, then I don't have anything
Manager
else.
reports. Patty, do you have a report?
Yes, she does.
Are you gonna read it?
Yes, I'm going to read it for her. if
Thank
that's
you, sir.
okay with everybody. Board meeting Thursday, 25 April 2024, location to Lake House. Management report. Pool. The lap pool was also closed for 2 days to remove the black algae from the floor and walls. The chemical process is taking care of the problem in addition. In addition, the leak in the pool has been located and repaired. There is a report in the board packet with details. Since then, the chemical levels have been staying consistent, and we are no longer adding water to the pool constantly. Pool maintenance. There are 2 additional pool resurfacing proposals in the board packet. Please take a time to compare and notice the time of work to be completed. The pool works can only get us on the schedule for mid to late 2025. The board would like to check references for different companies. Patty can help them. Alex Fletcher from Aqua Works USA is present to answer questions about the pool resurfacing and play equipment at the pool. The pool on the weekend is beginning an exorbitant amount of use. We believe that many of these people are not Fishhawk residents. A discussion of a pool attendant is needed for the summer months. A policy will be written for the next month's meeting regarding the length of time and the people at the pool with the family. Committee volunteers. There was a meeting of the finding committee prior to this meeting, and it will be discussed when the first meeting is. At this time, the only other committees are the social and ARC committees. The board is still looking for additional members for the finance committee and the elections committee. The board will need to review the pesticide and fertilization contracts. True Green has submitted another year's proposal. The PIE company that attended the meeting in Sunrise Landscaping is submitting a proposal. If the board would like an additional proposal, I will reach out to another company. My suggestion is not to renew True Green. The lack of results has proven they can take our community seriously enough to renew the contract for another year. Paired Villas installation and electrical of the installed and installation and the electrical of the timers are still moving forward. Attorney status report. Mankin Law Group has submitted the updated report. Please review and make a motion to vote to have all members revoked due to amenities revoked due to collection statutes. Then you want to read about the last one there. There are 2 additional town hall meetings set up for May 2nd and May 7th. Please attend if you are available to be informed of the situation. We're talking about the construction mitigation or the construction defect process. There will be a 720 Florida law statute 720 vote of the community just after these 2 final town hall meetings. I will update the board once we have the information from the attorney.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else to add, Patty?
Nope, not right now.
Can I add one thing if that's possible?
I suppose.
Yeah. And it's just about the pool issue on the weekends. I came home from somewhere and I think it was Saturday, it might have been. And there was a tent that was probably 40 feet long, filled with tables and chairs in the middle of the field. The field, of course, where the athletic field. That is a CDD property, so that's not it. But I would say of those, there were probably about 40 people. And they were going in and out of the pool. I don't know if they were members, but the feedback I got from a neighbor was that they felt that they were not, that there was just a party that was then using not only the CDD property, but the pool. It's just an observation.
Sure.
So I just wanted to add that I observed what you just described. And I think we probably need a pool monitor before the summer than later.
Let's table that discussion to the very end.
Okay, just a
Sound
good
good?
observation.
I do appreciate the observation. Yes, sir. Okay, community matters committee reports. Let's do it. Committee report. We have social committee chair in the room. Would you like to brief and then we can motion to approve or disapprove?
So I'd just like to start off by saying that I'm a volunteer, okay? I have no vested interest, as the accusation was made. I have a 20-year-old child. I work full-time in the ER as a nurse. I'm a nurse practitioner student. I have a lot on my plate. So when I offer my time, it is with free and goodwill, and that is all, okay? So, keep that in mind. I don't have a vested interest. I don't get anything out of this. I just do it to make the kids happy, create memories in the neighborhood. And it's something that everybody enjoys to see. And they enjoy it then. So the lack of professionalism and hostility that I have experienced from the liaison has been completely unnecessary. Okay, so moving forward, what I asked, as I had previously briefed, Matt mentioned it a couple of months ago. My intent is to have one event per season, roughly $5,000 of costs. Inflation has happened. That rock wall that all the kids love is about $1,800. That alone, that's $2,000 right there. It's gone. I don't make the prices. It's just what the costs are. So to ask me to regurgitate this itemized list of things that happened a year ago, while I'm here now for the meeting, but this is final. And I work all week. It's unfair and it's an unrealistic expectation to make to a volunteer. So moving back.
If I can respond, since I'm being the one being talked to.
$5,000 per event. It will be more, it may be less, but I figured that that's a good place to start. And what.
With all due respect, can I just respond?
No, it's not done yet.
When I'm hoping to do, when I do that.
But she addressed me directly and then she's moving on. I would just like to be able to respond.
For the year, but that's hard to do with my lack of time, because I have a lot on. So, unfortunately, we were only able to do the Easter egg hunt, and I know that wasn't necessarily done appropriately, but I did contact the property manager and she contacted. So, it was being communicated. I don't write checks. I don't want anything to do with it. I just make the plans. I discuss it with Patty. I included April in the previous email. We never heard back from her in the social media. She never replied. Today is the only time I've ever heard from her. So, that being said, my hope is to discuss all future events for the rest of the year, but you're dealing with a volunteer. I am not a part of it. I don't do this for other things. So I can only give you and allocate so much time. So my plan is to make some time to try to have some of us and we will discuss maybe other events that you may want to do. It's myself and Daisy. I plan everything. Daisy is my girl and she showed that came in. We're yourself. It's me. And Dave. It's that. I think there's one other lady that he showed up for Easter. that's it. So let's try to keep that in mind with volunteers and maybe be a little more kind to the volunteers. So.
Thanks. Do we want to approve the, you want to brief on what Summerfest is going to be?
I'm thinking about, water slide for the kids, the foam party was a hit last year. And possibly the rock wall, I don't know how the rock climbing will work. But I have to look into it, I'm gonna stick around on his Daisy after finals next week. And in between work, I'm gonna comply with. I don't know what it's gonna.
So I wanted to say thank you for your time and for your effort in volunteering. I know it's a lot on you and, you know, all the personal things aside, you know, you are a very important member of the board and of the community and helping out. I think it's an exceptional, you know, benefit to us. So, hopefully we can get you some more volunteers. So I do, just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
And
We did have some large group of ladies that showed up for help. I was at work the whole weekend, but they did show up.
And Mark and I,
back,
we were there.
and-
We were there with the ladies. That is true.
And it does take time, I understand.
Thank you.
I think, what I can do, because I know you probably need some of the information, and I have not seen the emails from earlier today. I haven't had a chance to check them when I was at work today. But what I can do is look historically to see what we were spending for those things so that we can at least give you some guidelines. We can answer some of the questions that seem to have been raised in the email. And then we can, maybe socialize with the board on the expense. So I can do some analysis on what's, you know, what was budgeted, what we have spent and what is remaining, and then historical costs so that we have a better idea.
And I planned some, so I have it. So,
Okay.
but I just was setting it for fun, so I can give that.
Yeah.
So when it was asked, it was.
All that's, you know, we can do that research and that's great. But the fact of the matter is we have to decide today how much we're gonna spend on Summerfest, or if we're just not gonna do it at all. Because it's 2 months away and bouncy houses and water slides and all those things are booking out
Mhm.
for June.
So, I don't know that I have the answer today, but I can, but actually I can tell you, what we have in the.
Do we have any ballpark cost expectations for the events that are planned, the items that are planned?
What's the saying?
Sorry, say that again. I'm sorry. We didn't hear
Sorry,
you.
this is Jason. Do we have any just ballpark estimates for the expenses for the things that are
Usually
planned?
it's $5,000.
And I don't have any desire for us to have an itemized accounting of everything, you know, beforehand, because it's not necessary, right? But you know, item by, if there's a foam party, how much is that gonna cost, or a rock wall, or whatever that is?
Should probably answer that. Now, how much was the phone party? How much do you think it's gonna be?
Ballpark.
Let's do it, let's,
I think he was at about 900 one can. Maybe two.
okay,
I really can't hear across the room very well. I apologize.
1,000 for phone guy.
No,
No, I
it's not me.
don't know. I don't think that's accurate.
Do you know what the name of the vendor was?
I have it.
I mean,
Yeah.
in the interest of time, I think we just approve an amount not to exceed
Mhm.
that we can. We've heard the general plan, phone party, water slides, rock on the wall.
Close, that's not a problem. I just.
When is the next social meeting?
It's just,
What April asked?
Just when's the next social meeting? It's supposed to be soon, I believe.
The next week.
it's an email.
Yeah, so it
So-
looked, last year we spent $545 on the phone.
That one can.
Yeah,
And he gave us,
so we'll need at least, you know, probably $1,100 for the phone.
Let's say 1,500. If you do the rocks, 2,000, that's
How much was the
3,500,
rough wall?
1,800. So
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, but the kids loved it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it, but they wouldn't let me on.
So we, I just looked, we have $400 in deposit account that's sitting there available to us, so.
Right now, but last month, in the first 3 months, no, in March, we made $5,800. Is that right?
Up till March.
Up till March, we made 58 in June, May and June, we were supposed to, because I.
Yeah, we have like 15 parties, 16 parties scheduled.
And we, I mean, we do have, we
May,
do
June.
have, let me just check on them. We do have money in the prior year retained earnings, which I think we can leverage as well. I just want to be reasonable, because some of the things later on in the agenda are probably, you know, are gonna
Extremely
take
expensive.
that change, you know, so.
Yep.
So I would, I
So
mean,
can I just ask, is there any reason why we have to, can we let them have their meeting and come up with some general and have time to do this background work? So we can have these for the board, and then we can do a special session to sit down and go over, that way we have time. Because right now, these are the questions I asked earlier today and kind of got blown off. And I would like to be able to do the time to research it too, but at 10 o'clock in the morning, the day of the meeting, it's tough to do when I have an AC that's going in and so on and so forth. So is there any reason why we can't let them have their meeting, have the time to do the legwork, and then just do a special
Because there's-
session
Yes.
a
Yes,
week
there
from
is.
now?
There is. You asked a question. Yes, there is. We have 2 more HOA meetings in the next 2 weeks. In the next month, and frankly, I just don't have any more bandwidth to do more special meetings, and I don't think the rest of the board does either, as evidenced by the fact that me and Jason were the only ones that showed up at the litigation. Me and John were the only ones that showed up at the last town hall. There isn't the bandwidth within this board to have more meetings. So.
And we can do it via email. Is that an option?
No.
so
Okay,
here's what I propose. Let's give, we have $2,500 to go put the deposits down and get those things. I think, Crystal, that can give you enough time to get some estimates together so that, you know, we're gonna do, you know, here's $2,500, don't exceed $2,500. And then when you, whatever you come back with you need, just give us a little bit of warning so I can do, I can crunch the numbers for you. So that way, because it's hard to do it on the fly.
That seems very reasonable.
Does, so I think. So the social, I don't know why this is always such a hot topic item, because in comparison to all the other line items, it's such a small number. But the social funds come out of operating funds, just like everything else.
If that's the case, then we have, I mean, we have operating funds.
Yeah.
Like
It's in the
the
budget.
rentals, the intent
Yeah.
behind the rentals is the rentals go back into funding that, but that is not the sole source of funding.
I know, I understand.
I mean, I'm trying to bounce this off of you.
Yeah,
Because if I'm
so
wrong, let me know.
I'm saying we had budgeted 6,000 a year. We anticipated $16,000 in income,
Mhm.
rental income for the year. So that is essentially our budget, right, for the social committees, if you think about it. If we can take it out of operating funds, that's great.
So it's only
But-
6,000. I thought it was 21,000.
No, it's not.
It is,
6,000 from the budget and then the 16.
Okay, I thought that was added to it. Okay. All right. But you
I
say we
just
have,
think with the idea of talking about a pool attendant and some other things that we need to do, it's probably prudent to make sure we have some of those bigger ticket items. Those are also social, like the pool attendant is not just it's a community social thing that people are asking for an attendant because of the issues we're having there. Like, I think those are legitimate things that we should talk about prior to making any more money towards a social event without better understanding of what we're spending money on.
can we regroup on this at the end of the meeting when we get through all of the budget discussion?
motion to table so Summer Fest budget allocation until the end of the meeting.
Right, so we get everything discussed and have everything on the table.
Sounds good. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, next topic.
We did the presentation.
Let's go with the presentations.
Alex,
Who do we got? We have couple guys over here.
where the pool, and Peter.
Who's going for
You have a way to set something on the TV.
Jennifer, is that possible? I don't.
There isn't one.
Thank you.
Maybe Eddie.
I don't know.
No.
You need a hand, man? Jennifer? I won't do it correctly, I'll just give you a hand. You want to- Just one.
Be able to push everything right through them. If everyone's in the computer, she'll be able to push right.
Do we have, is his in the board packet, Patty?
Yes,
Up in the sky.
it is.
Which-
Up in the other one, yeah, I have it. It's on the main one, just scroll down.
Which company is presenting first?
There it is,
Page
I can share it.
Florida
Yeah,
Place
there-
Structures.
Go back.
Okay, yeah, it's in the PDF version of the packet.
Right.
Felix. Felix, I was gonna say Felix instead of Alex. Working.
Nice.
Sorry for the jumble. Flyers right there.
It's
I was
okay.
just in a hurry.
It's fine.
Alex, it's a remarkable likeness. You didn't steal the computer.
Oh,
That was more questionable.
wow.
Full
Full mask, you can't.
Yeah. Not that I'm not a trusting guy.
You want one of these first? I know, are you sure? Yeah. Cause I can get you that one.
No, I can get anything I need.
Does that have sound on it as well? Is it necessary?
Good. Hypothetically, it should. It's supposed to be playing now.
That's it.
What's that?
I said, it's supposed to
No,
be-
no,
Okay.
it shouldn't be, but I was asking.
Yeah, but I can read it from here.
Well, sounds like it's been through.
This is our mission statement. I'm not gonna go ahead and read it right now. But if anybody's interested in it and they want a copy of it or anything like that, we more than happy to give it to them. Or if you want to read it now. And my name's Alex Fletcher. I'm with Aqua. Sorry, I can get started a little bit from here, but Aquaworks has been in business since 2011. And we're just across the Gandy Bridge behind Barney's Motorcycles over there by the dog track. So we're not far at all for, issues with service and things like that. You already have our equipment on your pools. The equipment that's filtering the water and sanitizing and all that is our equipment, so.
We have some.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
These are just some of the problems. We can see tipping buckets are very, very popular. We also do things slide. That's just. So
the first thing we needed to look at when we came out and looked at yours is how many water supplies you have to supply other features. And you really only have two, one on the small feature there. And then there's one, you can see there's a 4-inch pipe going up through the middle there, and it goes up and then goes in all different directions. So without busting up the floor, you just have a 2-inch feed and a 4-inch feed. So that's what kind of led us to try to pick the things, that would be best. And you've got plenty of water as far as that goes. In fact, you probably want to buy a variable frequency drive pump. And that's something, or the motor anyway, for the pump you have. And that's something that will pay for itself money wise. It just, when you turn on a pump, you notice they turn it on and bam, it's running full speed just like that. And that causes big electrical spikes and affects your electric bill and all that. So whereas the variable frequency drive just starts ramping up and you don't get those spikes. Plus, you only have to run it as fast as you need. With like the pump you have now, if you wanted to less water, you'd have to throttle it back. But that's even making the pump work harder. So that's a very inexpensive cost, but I just thought I'd bring that up.
Just a quick question on that, if I may. So,
Mhm.
how would you, unless you're there, how would you modulate it?
It's got a computer on the back and you can pick different speeds. You can set them to do different things and we can tell it to come on at certain times, go off.
So it's a preset type.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, got it.
And now that's just another picture. You can see that pipe right there in the middle. So you can see about where that is in your pool. So the features we picked for to fill in were one of the large tipping buckets, and then the thing we call the tabletop, which you'll see a better picture of here soon. That's really good for little kids, also made for children in wheelchairs to be able to come up and play with different things. So you can kind of see.
Only having those two pipes coming up really put a wrench in what we were looking at originally.
You probably,
Only having the two pipes that are coming in the ground, put a big wrench in what we were looking at originally.
yeah. So. Another picture just to show you kind of where it's gonna sit. It could possibly turn around the other way, and there's a couple little options. The tipping bucket can either have an angular face like that, where the water comes down and shoots off the end. But that takes a big splash zone. But if you were aiming it out there towards the middle of the pool, that might not be a bad thing. But that may keep some of the younger kids, because it starts getting pretty deep out there. So. This is the one I would like for your situation. That's where we do it flat with a grate on it instead of, and it just turns it into a big down blast. And the kids really have a lot of fun. And that's another example. I'm looking the wrong way, sorry. And that's just a different one. It has some ribs up at the top that makes the water kind of split and do all those kind of things. This will show you the tipping bucket as well as the tabletop. Tabletop's that purple thing right in the middle there. That's the tabletop that the kids play with. They can turn the dials, let's direct the water or things like that. When children are playing like that, they're learning, and the other side, it has different chambers and they have these smiley faces. And when the smiley face is right side up, it'll let the water out or into the next one next door. So the kids get to learn a little bit about cause and effect and maybe the physics of water or something like this. So I just have one more little video to show you.
All right, so do you have a proposal of what you want to put in an outro? Or is it you show, do you have like a free layout?
Yeah.
Can we jump to that?
No, I don't have it on here. All I had was those other renderings so far.
Okay.
So,
Years later, we were able to pull it off and with my vision of
the. Sorry. So these were just the renderings that we had done for you, just to give you an idea where it's gonna sit in the pool. It's really gonna be dictated by where that existing 4-inch pipe is. Because, you know, what we would do is we would cut it off, and then one of the legs of that would go over top of the 4-inch pipe with a gasket at the bottom.
Is the intent that this is what it's going to be, or we're going to put a platform on in there with the slides and everything as well?
No, this was what it was gonna be. We had done a price for an actual play set, but, we were told it was too much,
Last year,
so,
it's got the ship.
All right.
so. This was the next best, you know, but we could put another play set in front of the other one and do the same thing that it's already done underneath the play set would come up. And different lines would go to different features and they could dump this, you know, we could put whatever features on there you want.
Gotcha.
So,
All right.
I mean, if you'd like to relook at that, we can. So,
So just for my understanding, so in the proposals, there were two separate sections. There was one for the lap pool and then there was one for the activity pool. So I'm assuming that this was the one for the activity pool and that is,
yes,
Correct.
and
That's
Pete's the one that,
included with the price installed. The only variable in any feature that you put into the pool is if the footers or the feature itself, that will have to go to engineering. I have the original pool plans. I got those from the county. You'll have to go to the engineer and the engineer will say, yes, we need to put footers in, or no, we don't. That's the only variable. If we have to put footers in, then we have to go back and that'd be a change. You have to go and you have to cut into the beam of the pool, you know.
But are
It's
you
a
guys
little bit more work and tough.
yeah,
We work together.
okay.
I'm Florida Play Structures.
we're just the manufacturer.
They're the manufacturer.
He's the one that actually
I
pulls
install
permits, gets the
Splash pad.
engineering done.
Track it.
So that's why we've been working together on this, just because he's,
So what kind of manufacturer warranty are on these things? If these spinning wheels break or the bucket falls off and breaks or something like that?
well, I hope that doesn't happen. I will have to double check, or stuff's usually a year warranty, but I know for like the paint and whatnot, it's like a 10-year warranty.
Yeah.
You know, if anything like that.
Is it painted or is it
Power bit.
It's powerful.
powder coated? So it's not dyed through?
No,
Okay.
No, everything's stainless steel. All their features are gonna be stainless steel powder coated. Nothing's made of plastic.
I see. Even the slides and things like that?
Well, slide.
no, we make those out of fiberglass.
Fiberglass, okay.
We do stainless steel and fiberglass, just like your equipment out here comes in a fiberglass cabinet. But, you know, like I say, if you'd like to relook at the playset and, you know, be happy to do that. This is just, you know, we're limited by the two sources of water, so we can only have two features.
I see. That makes sense.
The difference between the place set and the dumping bucket is somewhere in.
can I just ask, this? So this is not including the pool resurface, this is.
It is.
Oh, it is, okay, so that's what I wanted to check.
Yeah. It's
Trying to
52. On both. On both of these, the back one and the And those two-
So it's the 295 for the activity pool and then 78,000 for the lap pool and change, of course. So that's it added together. So we need to add those two together.
I always keep the proposals for each one second, that way you know what you're.
That's 295.
Okay. And then the picture that was in, like, there was a different picture in the actual,
That's one that we had, looked at.
Which proposals you have?
it was the one on the board packet that Patty shared out.
Yeah, I think we.
Okay, that was the first one, the larger proposal.
Okay, so that's the 295. So this one is,
Yeah, that's not
Less?
the correct proposal, it's less, it's
Okay.
250.
252.
52,000, I believe.
252, 290,
Yeah,
and that's for the activity pool
correct,
With that,
with the new feature and all.
with that, and not this.
this
not that.
one is 295.
252,000 for a giant bucket that dumps water and then a little play
It's
station.
also to put total refinish on your pool, on
Yep.
the tile all around the pool.
Can you break those things out too? Is it possible to do that so we can start with the base?
I can give you an allowance on the tile, I can tell you what we've put in there, if you don't like the tile that we put in the allowance, you wanna go something else with it, then it's gonna be an extra cost.
Hmm.
I think, I mean,
Like, how much to? So I see activity pool, drain pool, remove tile fittings, et cetera, apply bond coat, install new finish, install new tile, all these things, right? How much is all of that? And then what's the difference, or I guess, how much is the place structure? Cost, right? So we start with a baseline.
Yeah.
Because if I tell people in this community that we spent $300,000 and they got a bucket that dumps water, they're gonna be standing outside with pitchforks.
You got a whole ring model pool.
Exactly.
I mean,
So I wonder how much it costs.
Break it out,
the biggest part of it is redoing.
yeah, the refinish is
I mean, that's
your biggest expense.
So it's, for the lap pool, it's 78,000 to refinish it and make it look brand new.
Mhm.
That's for the lap pool.
so I'm guessing that between the bigger place structure that was in the proposal and this one, the place structure itself, because that's what, $45,000 different from the one that we saw before to the smaller one. And I kind of agree with you. I think, it's almost like a takeaway from what we have currently. I feel like the residents wouldn't be very happy about it.
Yeah.
So
But,
I'm sorry.
no, I was just.
Yeah,
gonna say-
if it's 78,000 to refinish the lap pool, then how much is it to refinish the activity pool?
Mhm.
Without.
Without, like, if we had no play structure,
Which is potentially an option.
You have to also realize that it's also 3 times bigger than
It's when now?
it says 3 times the volume and size of your lap pool.
Yeah,
The activity.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But just how much is it?
20,000, 150,000, what is the? If you take the play structure cost out of the equation. No, I'm trying to divide it up here, so we figure out how much we're spending on play structure and how much is the refinishing. That is the mandatory expense, right? That's what we have to spend.
Right.
The play structure is the only area where we have some wiggle room.
Discretion.
What did I say? I said
Wiggle, discretion,
yeah.
discretion. Yeah, thank you.
option. Variance,
So,
I'm trying to find the wall.
I'm right.
okay,
Right, I mean, let's put on the table, what if you didn't do an activity event,
Play structure.
play structure, you just made it a pool?
what a splash pad?
Yeah, well, basically, that's what we do. And let me tell you from experience, kids love the anticipation of water dumping in their head.
Mhm.
You can have all kinds of stuff that sprays out of the ground. They're gonna stand by that dumping.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm building a splash pad in Dade City right now, I'm building one in Brooks, off Forest Park.
Mhm.
Dade City's got a huge dumping.
All right. Treasurer, what do you think of these numbers? So we're looking at almost 400,000 for both projects.
Yep, and we have nowhere near close to that in the reserve for it, so that wasn't even planned, there was a fraction of it. So, I think that we would have enough to do the pool resurfacing for the lap pool. And we might have to look at doing, either, an increase in the dues for next year and then planning for it as part of taking it from reserves and then replenishing the reserves, for next year, but.
Okay, that's a little bit more of making bacon than these guys need to hear.
I will break out the cost of the feature
Okay,
and the installation. There's gonna be installation, but you still have to put into that variable the footers. We have to put footers in. It's gonna be.
And won't know that till you get the review on this. This will need,
No,
this will
until
probably need a
it's in
footer, you think, or you?
Their equipment and the original plans to the engineer and say what,
Okay.
because I can't make that decision.
Here, I have a quick question. This is Kevin.
Okay.
If we needed to do the footings ballpark, how much is a set of footings cost?
Well, if I have to get the engineer in, that's gonna be at least $6,500 in engineering. And then look at if each footer is a yard, concrete's running about $300 a yard. So there's 3 footings on that, so there's another 1,000 just in concrete plus the labor. Maybe 15 grand,
Okay.
maybe. That's a high number.
What did it say on the plan that the thickness of the floor was? Did it say?
All holes are 6 inches,
Okay.
except wherever that original.
Right, that's what I was wondering, if underneath the original clay structure, if they had thickened the concrete there.
any other questions for these gentlemen?
No, thank you.
Nope.
I don't think I have any, not presently anyways.
I think it would be helpful to have just the resurface, like I guess my question is, can you keep the current play structure there? And resurface the pool, or that has to come out no matter what?
We can do it, but what I understand is falling apart.
I know, I know.
And it's and you get to the point where it's saving.
I
When
understand,
you have points start
but I'm
bobbing.
just saying from a cost perspective, if we have to get creative, we need to focus on the things that are the highest priority.
I do have a question though, let's just say that we were going to do this, but it was gonna require a footer. And if we were going to do this and it required a footer, right, so we're gonna redo the pool, put the footer in. Does the equipment have to go up, or can we wait a year to put the equipment up? If it's all prepped,
It'd have to go up because you would have exposed pipes. If you're not gonna put it up, what we would do is we would come in and just concrete right over and finish the pool like it was never there.
right?
So
Good question.
where the pipe's there for sometime in the future, you can dig it up. You already have the water.
Okay, it's just-
I wish I could offer you a lot more options and stuff like that. You're just, like I say, you're kind of limited. I'm just gonna leave a couple of these catalogs here for you if you just want to look at them.
Please do.
If you see any other features or anything like that you might be interested in, but
What is the lead time requirement when we say go to when you can
it's
start
about 8
construction?
to 10 weeks on the manufacture of the equipment, and then we would probably be going.
I could fall right within their frame.
Yeah, okay.
How long
Yeah.
would the pool have to be shut down? How long would we have to shut down the pool?
We would do both pools at the same time, you'd be down for approximately 2 weeks.
Okay.
Max.
If we as a board need to have a discussion on how we're gonna pay for this.
Yeah.
Right, thank you, gentlemen.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you very much. I'm sorry for the delay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. It's been a wild evening.
All right, time's up, right,
Yes.
sir?
Come to the table.
So I got-
Easy.
78 plus 252, is that right? So 330?
Well,
252.
252 if we go with a boring Dunkin' bucket.
Right. Oh, you go 295.
Yeah, this is play structure. I mean, if we're gonna spend that much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, cause this is gonna be for the next 10, 15 years, you know,
Hopefully.
295, 5 is the limit. All right,
73.
sorry, on time.
No, you're okay. She's got, I've given her some photos for some work. Have we talked about?
Hopefully you saw
More
the
cool
difference.
stuff?
Yeah, more cool stuff.
Hmm.
So this is new.
Mm-hmm.
Mac, you saw pictures.
Yeah, I see that every day.
But
I live across the park.
doesn't that look so much prettier?
I don't know, I like a big fancy place set in there instead of flowers, but my wife would look for flowers.
Agreed.
So this is where we actually took out the palm trees that were there. That was the assist two. There's one on that side and then the two on the inside.
Correct.
Right,
So those bonds are going.
yes, this is literally what it looks
Okay.
Right.
I guess I don't look at it like this.
like. So that's what's on the plants here
Yeah.
and then the palms.
Oh, so we're gonna put palms back in, right? Yep.
So to spruce it back up.
These are pretty good sized palms, so a portion of this money is obviously I need a machine, so they've got to come on a tractor trailer, as we're aware. We could set them probably cheaper than with a Bobcat with a crane, but I don't want to drive a crane up on those sidewalks or the turf or anything like that with all the irrigation and infrastructure, so. There is a little adjustability in this proposal. Those are pretty good size foxtail palms, but I think putting anything smaller would kind of defeat the purpose of giving it any curvature whatsoever because it was such a big palm that we took out. So those are kind of a happy medium. I can move them easily with Bobcat. I don't need a big crane, and we can do them relatively quickly. And that's removing some of the existing ground cover, some of the small shrubs that are around that are past their peak, and you can start to see some of the woody stuff. So it's really a revamp of just that one entrance. That's the focal point. I mean, I know a lot of people enter through the parking lot, but that's kind of the money shot of the amenity, so we wanted to do it a little bit of justice.
My only concern is the foxtails, we're right on the middle of the end from them, correct? So
We're close here. We're fine here. If we were up in Ocala or, anywhere up, I would probably lean against them. The woman in my office that helped me with this, her name is Jessie Milch. She is an account manager like me. We got her from Massachusetts. She is a tropical plant specialist. That's what she went to school for, and this is what she's recommending. So I think we're in good shape. They're self-cleaning, they're healthy, they're easy to maintain, and they come with a warranty with us. So I think they're a solid choice to go with something like a sago palm, or we're talking.
clean palms. are way to go.
Imagine the amount of money difference. These are very good Florida look, very tropical and low cost.
I love it. What kind are they?
These are foxtail palms.
Foxtail.
They drop. That's why I look them.
They just clean themselves, that's good.
I have like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I have a place down in Fort Knox.
And these are small enough that I can handle them with the crew. I don't have to have your tree company come in and deal with them. By the time we have to do that, hopefully none of us, you probably will have to worry about it. I won't. It'll take a while.
Right, and they still just drop. It's not like they're,
Correct.
you don't have to get up and, the coconut palm, you gotta get up and cut the coconuts down.
What do you think, Trish?
So this I would classify as a landscaping improvement. This one proposal would take up 65% of our improvement budget for the year,
Is this just for the pool or for the whole
for
community?
the master.
For like everything?
Please. Exactly. So we have overspent on some of the repairs that we've had to make, from what we budgeted. Because of some of the, trees that we've had to cut down and things like that. So we've had a lot of expense in that area the last several months, so. I agree that we probably need to do some improvement, but it's a very large chunk of our, budget for the balance of the year.
And $10,000 seems like a lot for 2 trees and some shrubs. It seems like an awful lot of money.
And the labor for it, you
Plant
gotta,
material, it's a lot of plant material. It's expensive. Getting it here, having a machine to move trees is that big. Like I said,
Yeah.
if we replaced what we took with a new tree, we're talking a big crane to get that tree down, and it's a lot. So again, I can reduce the scope, I can reduce the price if we go to a smaller tree, for example, something like, maybe 8 to 10 foot, what I call OA, so overall height on delivery. I can probably muscle that with my crew with a ball cart and get it in there, which would easily take $3,000 off of that. Again, it's gonna be a lot, not quite so grand, which is okay. We can look at that. If you'd like to see that, we can do that. I think the existing shrubs there all around that side of the pool need to get yanked. So this is a good starting point right around. There's other stuff to do, but we're trying to phase it in smaller sections, so.
I think I'm all about replacing the shrubs. I think the trees are probably a bridge too far right now. Can we come back next year maybe and do those?
Would it be hard to do if we put the new bushes in?
I mean, we can work around it. We
Yeah.
can, we can.
Yeah.
Looking for it. I can work with her on that. That's absolutely fine. Or we can do the trees and not do the shrubs. I think there's more impact in the shrubs. I think I would agree with that overall.
I think, what would also be helpful for budget planning is just, you know, if we replace what we took, you know, understanding what the cost for that, so that we can plan for that for next year and put those trees in. So I know that you're quoting it now, but at least it gives us a ballpark of what we need to focus on for budgeting, and planning purposes, so.
Sure.
And as we get later in the year, can this please be put in later in the year?
So if you guys said yes to this now, we don't handle the irrigation for you. As long as Ballinger says that they can irrigate, so my proposal doesn't include any needed irrigation adjustments, so the palm that went out, obviously was an established palm, so irrigation wasn't a super concern for that, we would need good irrigation here. We're not in the rainy season in Florida, mid-June is when that typically starts. Last year it didn't really happen, so I'd like to see a little bit, we probably want to push this off, the install. If Ballinger says we can get irrigation, we can establish plants, no problem, great. But if they're like, well,
So, yeah, so this doesn't have to run before the season, it just can
Oh,
be
no,
done
sir.
sometime.
No.
this year. So we can always see how the year flows out.
Patty, I think they're really pretty.
I do.
I think it would look really nice.
Yeah.
But it's also $10,500.
Yeah.
Lots of things look pretty for that.
But it improves my view when I have coffee.
Oh, well, Matt, yeah.
Matt's house is right here.
It's all for that.
so what, again, my
Yeah.
intent behind all of this is, that's pretty much the jewel of the community. I know the lake house is
Sure.
beautiful, but I'm just trying to constantly improve and spend some dollars so that, you know, the community sees what we're trying to do. So I'm gonna continue to try to
You
do
keep,
stuff that can
you
be
keep
smaller.
bringing the quotes, Tom,
Correct, okay.
and
Yes.
say is yes or no, right? You keep
So-
bringing the quotes.
If you'd like
Yeah.
to see revised quote for that without the palms and maybe just dial the shrubs back to just do a little bit of pop of color, just to
Yeah.
do something for that entrance, I'll work with Jesse with that, no problem at all. We did do a second proposal for in the pool. If you're walking up to the front, I'll call it the men's room side, the left as you're going, there is a little corner that has an open mulch spot. That was a small one with some, I think, some sage and some blue days.
Is it this one here?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, that's right to the left of the men's room side.
All right. Yeah, I think we can do that.
We did the front, I think the front's established really well, the blue days and everything looks great, so
Yeah,
just
I-
keep picking at it.
And Sage is good.
And that long flower bed next to the lap pool,
Love that.
beautiful, beautiful.
Everybody comments when we see
Great.
that, it's fantastic, so.
All right, so we're gonna put,
I'm so
unless,
glad the flooding didn't kill all the plants, though, when it flooded, I was like, oh my god. we just-
Yeah.
Oh, bad.
hopefully they don't die.
Well, we took 2 palms out of those 2 round beds up by the building.
Yeah,
And to be honest, I would love to put palms there too, but I think the little plantings that we did look good, like, I
Yeah,
don't,
that's
I'm
nice.
not saying we have to put palms everywhere, but where we can, I think eventually would be
I
good.
think next year we can put some palms back in maybe.
Sure.
Yeah. Unless anyone,
Question.
just,
What was that?
Just a quick question. Is there the ability to relocate any current trees or something that we do have somewhere within the properties that we have already that could be cheaper to relocate to our crown jewel and then I don't know, buy us time or at least as an option for the future if our budget continues to kind of break.
To relocate something from another location.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do pull.
we don't have any
Yeah,
palms that
pull
are
it back
saying,
there.
all right, right? Yeah.
Pull a palm from where? So the palms you have at the lake house are cabbage palms, absolutely not at the pool. They're basically a weed. They look kind of cool, but they're cabbage palms and they're highly susceptible to disease, much like some of the palms there. So I absolutely understand where you're going. And I think with the smaller shrubs and things like that, that's a bad example because those are been there so long. I mean, as you can see, we have an Awabuki viburnum hedge that goes around that side of the pool. And a lot of that is especially on where the pool equipment is that this guy was talking about. You get that mist and that's why they're all dying, because on windy days from that, where it does shoot that little water fountain, you can see that's straining on that stuff. So what we have to put in there has to make sense. And I don't think anything on that side would be able to be reused anywhere else. As far as stuff in the rest of the community that we could possibly pull,
We don't
to
have it
put
all.
over there,
We don't-
nothing tropical that I think would necessarily fit in that location. No.
Right. And even if it is, we don't own it. This pool and the
And stuff that's typically here is more shade loving and that's sun, so it's
Mhm.
kind of a completely different ecosystem as well, so.
Yeah, I can push it. I think
Okay,
we can
worth a shot.
push this off till next month. We'll look at it again.
The blue haze or the?
Oh, no,
Oh,
I
for
was still
the-
talking about the palms.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
was talking, I thought we were going to the next.
The palms. We do need to put something in those bushes there are looking pretty rough
Yeah.
around that entrance. So we come back with a quote about something we can put there.
I'll absolutely revise it. At the very least, there's some stuff that I'd like to just get out and maybe just even mulch for now, just to get some of the dead out, so it shows that we're.
Let's dress it up. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So you're gonna do the blue haze now? Or no?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Do you wanna do the blue haze now?
Yeah, we can motion for that one. The second item for not the one, so the Texas Sage and Blue Days install by Men's Bathroom is $815.
They'll have to do a couple lines of drip, so there'll be a small charge, whatever balance wants to do to add in drip irrigation in that location, which I don't think would be more than a couple $100, but it's not included in my proposal, because we don't do it. Okay.
I make a motion, we will do it. And
Second.
anticipate the Ballinger expense, so let's make it 1,100 not to exceed, or
Yeah.
Is, are we, is
Well,
this to
that-
replace something that is gone or died, or is it just trying to make it look
It's-
nicer? Or?
It's this part right there,
I'm
by
sorry.
the bathroom.
I'm looking in the packet. Yeah, I'm just wondering, was there something there or?
No, it's just mulch.
No,
You
it's
see the before and after?
nothing there since I've managed this property. If there was something there before, I don't know, but not since I've been, no,
Okay.
it's 2 years.
Just an empty bed.
How many total plants are we looking at there?
3 sage looks like, and I don't know how many of the little blue bonnet things.
It'll be in, it's in the proposal.
It's in there, I know.
Yeah, it's like, it,
She did not put it, I believe, here's the picture of the finish. I believe just from a hip shot, I believe it's like 4 of the Texas sage, and my guess would be about 20 blue days, 20 to 30 in that range.
okay,
Sorry, I don't have that information in front of me.
that's okay.
That's okay. It looked
So
like
that
that, it
the-
looked good.
That's a beautiful thing that Jesse does. That's something that I haven't done, you can tell. But depending on the size and availability, if we can get number 7, the 7-gallon ones, great. If it is number 3 is all I can get, I will just add more to fill the area. So it's hard to say, it just depends on what's available.
Yeah.
We'll fill it up tight, make it
Good
look.
shot, nice color.
Mac motion
I see.
to approve it. Rebecca seconded it.
Not to exceed.
Any other comments? Right, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Real hand waving on your end too.
People opposed?
Say no. Opposed.
Yes, and April say no.
2 opposed, 4 in favor, motion carries.
Okay.
What else we got?
Did you have a tree? I think she has a tree for Sagewood.
Oh.
You want her to?
The tree that
We
Maple.
posted a photo of that.
so it's actually over in the back of
It's in the back of
the
the.
safe with, yeah, so it's under exhibit C.
Which one are we looking at now?
Exhibit C under Sagewood. It's the
Or we're
tree.
just gonna jump right to Sagewood? Okay. Pressed. We talking about the hedge?
No, it's
Oh, the tree.
replacing oak that.
The maple tree.
Maple tree, yeah. It's a green tree with leaves.
Yeah, $2,700.
They fall off.
It's a red maple with green leaves, but in the fall in Maine, they're beautiful. We'll see what happens here, but it is technically a red maple.
Do we know what happened to that tree that snapped it off?
I'm
Do we-
sorry.
Do we know what happened to the tree that snapped it off by any chance?
This one's been dead for a while, so I'm guessing in irrigation, probably irrigation related issue, and I would say more than likely probably some soil quality in those little tiny pockets that they're planted in, so. Again, Jesse has filled in this, I talked to her on this, we're gonna take this one out, add some good topsoil and amend the soils that are in that area, and then replant the tree, we'll stake it, and again. There's already a bubbler there, so it should be really, I don't think any cost for Ballinger to update the irrigation, maybe just a little extension on it.
I remember when that one died. I think it just died.
We had a couple and we replaced one and there was not a bubbler in the location, so we had them add one, so we'll double check this one, but.
Mhm.
Likely irrigation.
I think it doesn't make sense to plant a tree if we don't have the irrigation in place, so we would have to make sure that's there.
I believe when Ballinger did the other one, was it Ballinger or us at the time? I don't know, it was like $50 to extend, and we tied it right into the pop-up spray zone that was right next to it. So it's a
I don't
very,
think
very,
Ballinger did this was ours. Ballinger was only doing the CBD at the time, I believe.
Do we,
So it would have been that contractor that did it.
it was the one across the street from this one.
Right.
I'm trying to remember. It was,
That's what I remember.
it could be, but yes, so we did not have a bubbler in that location, but we tied it right into the
Yeah, I know.
the irrigation zone that was in that spot anyway.
Ballinger didn't have it.
I make a motion to put the tree in, replace the dead tree, and make sure that we have irrigation to support topsoil.
Second,
I'll second that. Great
just,
minds think alike.
I just. Tom, I know that we have to pay for things. I know things are expensive, but that just seems like so much money for a tree to me. I'm used to the cost of labor and install on landscaping being roughly 50% of the cost of the materials. So if it's like $1,000 for a tree, it's 500 for labor to put it in. But we're paying way more than that here.
So this is the same price that I gave you guys last time
Yeah.
for this tree. It's an expensive tree. I talked about it with the previous board. What we ended up doing on the other one, and the only reason I'm going, these trees are big and established and they're a bigger tree. So the older the tree gets, the bigger it is, the more money it costs, the more they've invested time into it.
Right.
And I've got to get it here, we've got to move it and all that. So the big piece of this one is I did go with a bigger tree because I wanted to keep them consistent. What we did on the other side was we went, instead of this, we went down to like a little 2-inch caliper tree.
Do you remember that? We went from like
And-
3,000 down to.
Did it work? Yeah, it's fine. So I can absolutely, like we did, dial back, but I'm trying to keep consistency, that's all. So.
This is in Sagewood, right?
Yes.
How's their budget looking?
It's fine. I think so for Sagewood. They have $39,000 and this, I did check it against the budget and this would be, and it would be fine in their budget. They have enough to cover
Yeah,
the budget for this year.
right. Any other discussion? Let's vote.
No.
All in favor of replacing this tree in Sagewood for $2,780 or $2,708.60?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
April is I too. She got her hand up.
And then we just need to make sure that the irrigation is there. If there's no irrigation, then
This is a machine tree too, so we're gonna run Bobcat and the ball on this thing.
it's gonna be big.
It's a
Yeah.
big,
It's not a hand carry thing.
No, sir.
I understand.
Not without hurting people. Well, unless you wanna show up, we can give it a
No,
shot.
yeah.
Happy to give it a go.
You missed the day where I fell in the bathroom, was on the floor for 45 minutes and couldn't get up. I was like, Alexis, my head. All right, anything else for Tom today?
No, I mean, we're gonna go over the,
We go back to
the
the.
spray.
Oh, you wanna do the
Fertilization.
Fertilization, yeah, if you have questions about that, I'll do my best. I'm not the green for GM, but I can
Looks like it.
hopefully answer any questions you have about that.
About what now?
We put a proposal into,
For the,
Fertilization.
fertilization.
Oh, instead of tree gain.
Mhm.
I see. Do you want to talk about that? Weren't you doing it before?
They
yes,
were doing everything before.
Right, so they were doing fertilization before, and they went with True Green because they thought they would do better.
Because we wanted to hold everybody accountable, because we took.
We just
that-
had-
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
now, True Green, I mean, they've done all. There's no-
You're not pleased.
Absolutely.
She sugarcoated.
Hmm?
She sugarcoated.
Yeah,
Can we tell?
what is it that you don't like?
Their consistency.
Yeah,
We have weeds, we have turf weeds, we have weeds everywhere. And every time I ask them to come back, he's like, oh, we've been there, we'll be back in 12 days. That's not okay.
And how long, they've been our irrigation, they've been our fertilizer company since January,
Here, so it was, May of last year. So
May of last year.
Mhm.
Okay, so if
That's
there's,
what we're having to
so
do.
I know, just from my personal anecdotal experience, I thought that I had a green thumb and I was gonna take care of my lawn and I was gonna do all the chemicals myself, and I killed the lawn once entirely. And so then I replaced it with on my own side and then tried to take care of it again, and that didn't work. And so then I hired a company. And within 2 months, I saw a difference. And you can see a distinct line between my house and my neighbor's house, where mine's just grass and his is like clover
Right.
in certain areas. So my neighbor will remain nameless. But
We don't know which side of the house.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so my point being that we've had them since last May. If what they were gonna do and was gonna work, it should have worked by now.
It has, we can look out for.
Yeah.
We keep losing.
So what is the proposal?
The proposal is to switch back to what we had, remember the PIE were here, that presentation for the company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, can you speak up just a little bit, please? I forgot my hearing aids today.
Yes, sir.
They're so hard to get, guys.
I hear it fine,
I
but
talk to her on the phone all week, and sometimes I really crank her.
I probably say,
You know how to get
what
me
did you
there.
say?
I do.
What did you say? What did you say? About 40 times when we're on the phone.
Sorry. For the
yeah, shot at Hollywood. Yeah.
And then True Green, they're coming in at the same price as last year, because I told them I'm not happy with their service.
Same price for True Green.
Right. So, and then Tom came in, Tom's team came in. Actually, we'll give this to Rebecca. She has the contacts. They're, if not the same, lower than what True Green is.
Yeah, I did look at this actually. I had,
This is a quote from you.
These are what.
I have True Green, I have Progressive, just have True Green. I don't have separately.
Yeah, I already had yeah, I wrote this down.
Oh, there's one for each. Okay.
Yeah, there's five.
I looked through all these, there's several, right? And they're all different costs. In
Yeah.
total, it's a few tens of thousands of dollars. Are we saying that it's the same price or less of what we're paying now under True Green?
Yes.
Okay.
So for the Sunrises quotes is for PV for the year is 19,000 some change. For Sandpiper Crest is 8,700. That's the Sagewood is 9,700. I know you're writing these numbers down, aren't you know?
Yes, I have.
And then Westlake is, yeah, 2,300.
The only thing I wanted to note, so on the quotes, like for the master, the quotes are very different in prepared villas. It's very different between the two of them.
The Masters.
The others are pretty close, like they're pretty well in line. So I think from a budgetary perspective, I think we budgeted for the annual contract amount, so I think we just have to be aware of that. So particularly for paired villas, because it's triple the cost.
Right, and I think the reason why is because True Green took the HOA, Air Villas and Sandpiper, and was doing that as a whole. Because in that contract, it says three portions of the HOA. Okay, so it could have been being built separate.
Okay, so has the master been paying for all the landscaping then?
Because I just finally put it together. I couldn't understand him. One was so different.
Okay,
But then looking at the budget from the 2024 budget, there is a big difference from what was paid last year and what was budgeted this year.
yeah.
Compared to
So-
it was like 6,000, we paid 16.
I didn't look at I mean,
Yeah.
I looked at this year's budget.
So which one's the big delta this year? Just-
So the master, the budget for the master was 27 grand, and then the proposal is 8,300. The budget for paired villas is 5,500, and the proposal is 19,000. So, and what Patty is saying is that they were
They're
grouping,
them together.
they were grouping them together. So,
Yeah, so
I mean, that
The
just.
paired villas and
The
the
good
master are
news-
27,000 and change.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that we we would be over budget for paired villas, we would be under budget for the master. But I think we would, be able to, we might, if worst comes to worst, we could always, since we were paying for it out of the master anyway, we could, fund those bills, because we would, if they had kept True Green, we would have continued to pay it out of the master anyhow. So.
Well, should
But we
we-
do have operating funds, I mean, Paired Villas has quite a bit of operating funds that we could potentially use as well.
Yeah, because they have a lot more grants, right?
Yeah.
The numbers, if you just think about the numbers that you guys were using with tutoring, that, when you think about the communities and the proportional value, doesn't make any sense, their number makes no sense. And we've done it before and the properties really well, that number that they gave you, however they broke it out is not accurate. Their bill is-
So we may have to bridge them this year, but then plan for the actual funds as we move forward. Is that what we're
Correct.
recommending?
That is what I'm recommending.
And the plan of Hollywood people, the budgets, anywhere here.
Their numbers, they're $15 million on the proposal when they came in.
What was it?
They had 15 million on one of their proposals. and then-
$15 million?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, they had-
Thought you were making that up.
No,
Okay, all right, so I think we can throw them out.
right.
All right. So,
I was like, is this a typo? Is there extra zero?
no, they obviously got us confused with the state of Rhode Island.
But it was on more than.
So, I mean, so we want to make a recommendation today, or we have the money to do this?
Yeah.
And it's important.
I mean, when I reviewed it and I crunched the numbers, I mean, I think the proposal makes sense, given the service issues and things of that nature. I mean, it's comparable to the overall
Oh,
cost.
yeah,
So-
okay. So can I make a motion? I'd make a motion that we go with Sunrise here. We only have two choices, right?
Yeah, we have Sunrise or True Green.
I make a motion.
I second the motion. No, sorry, go ahead. I thought you already made it.
No, I made the motion, you're seconding it, so
Yep.
put it up for discussion, sir.
Any discussion?
So I know what you were fishing at earlier, so let's just talk about the elephant in the room.
What is that?
So when we had this, when I first started here, we had arguably, agreeably, a really shitty irrigation manager. That was why this whole thing happened. We lost irrigation. I'm fine with that. Completely understand. Great. Horticultural services, they were doing their job. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say it was always perfect, but what they didn't do is communicate. So I think part of this and my promise to Patty when we discussed this and I considered taking this back on is the fact that what we will do now, what we didn't do before, is let Patty know like a week or two in ahead. We're coming for this round. This is exactly what we're gonna be doing and when, so that she can send emails out or Facebook or however you guys want to do it. Guillermo came in here and talked. He's arguably probably one of the best guys for important pest control in the state. We'll communicate. That was, I think, why the biggest reason, I think it was perception more than the reality. So there's obviously some things that we're doing now that we weren't then, i.e. soil testing. We have the ability to pull tests. They go to site one, they get sent out by a third party, and then we can kind of tailor the program based on soil needs. So there's some things that we offer that we do that we weren't doing before. So I think it's a good fit. I wouldn't do it if I wouldn't even have suggested it or talked with Patty about it if I didn't think we could perform. So that's just I wanted to say my piece about what happened before. I could tell you were interested in it. Let's just ask any question you have.
Curious.
Happy to hit with it.
Curious, but
I
I
didn't
wasn't
have
gonna.
control of it. So Green Core is the company that does it. His name is Guillermo Ishida. He's the only Japanese Mexican man I know, and he is fantastic.
Mhm.
Patty's met him, he's coming, he's amazing. The communication was kind of lacking, but he's willing to come down, you know, get hands in the dirt, meet, show, whatever we can do to improve conditions. He's
He was there when we
fantastic, so,
cut down the tree,
Mhm.
the disease tree.
correct. So,
Any final questions?
No.
All right, all in favor of hiring Sunrise to take over the landscaping on May 1st? Is that correct, Patty?
Aye.
I raised my hand, yes.
Any
April?
any opposed?
April, you good? Okay, thank you.
All right.
It
that
was in
one's-
this side, I couldn't see it, sorry.
That one's unanimous.
Yeah, you could put that here, because you're gonna have to sign them, after.
You missed Sunrise, okay.
Right?
I think you're good with me. If anybody has any more questions for me?
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks for staying.
Thanks for hanging.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Sorry. to
Thank
slip-
you.
Yes.
I need to change the chair.
Have a soft chair.
You're doing great. Keep it going. All right, we're still in the master. Florida leak locators report for repair of the pool leak. Do we want to talk about that for a second?
1 second,
There's nothing to approve. There's no motion. It's just to
it's done.
brief it basically, right?
Yeah. So we had the gentleman from Florida Lake Locators come in. He did his sonar, he went under the water, he checked with sonar, he found that the light was actually had a hole in it, was leaking. So it's repaired, it's taken care of, and knock on wood, our chemicals have been spoken, and our water bill should go down.
Good.
Well done.
Water bill should
Water
go
bill.
down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic work.
Light leak.
That was, I know that was, I was really turning the screws on you on that 1 week, Patty, in 2 weeks, and that was job well done.
Yes.
I'm glad we got it fixed.
Excellent.
Sunrise, we did all those. T.S. Anthony Construction Pool Paving Repair?
Yes, so this is the palm trees that we had taken down at home have what we originally thought was gonna be the leak. The roots have grown up along the side of the pool
Mm-hmm.
and they're pushing the bricks up above. So we have to have them,
What trees
Take
are
that.
doing that?
Hmm?
What trees are doing that?
the palm trees that we took out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm,
Is there a quote for this?
$850.
$825.
820. To fix how many pavers?
10 to 20 pavers, dig up and remove the root causing issues with the pool pavers, the labor to refill paver sand and restall them. Labor charge includes the trip. And then the materials, that's $700 and the materials $125.
What do you think, Mac?
I couldn't do it for less than that. I couldn't do it at all, but that's a separate issue. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Kevin, what do you think? Could you do pavers for cheaper than $800?
I think the digging up and removing the roots and then putting everything back in, it's a one and done, and getting rid of those trees, we won't have the problem again. So for what I think is a reasonable cost for the amount of labor to pull all that out and then put it all back. It's really the cost of the labor. The bricks are nothing.
Right.
yeah, it's actually, they're just gonna use the same bricks. It's just, and have you ever tried to dig up roots? I've
Yeah.
done-
I have.
have,
It's
I-
miserable.
I
It
hate
ruins
it.
your day, so,
Bad day, yeah.
yep. I would recommend, I'd make a motion that we accept it and let it get it going.
I second your motion. Any further discussion, Jason or um, April? Thank you.
No, thanks.
Okay,
All right, all in favor of paying $825 to fix the pavers at the pool, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yep, everybody's good.
Placement of privacy panels. Kevin-
Privacy panels.
Kevin, you
All
wanna
right,
talk about privacy panels?
Yeah, sure. So there's 6 panels on the side that are by the bathrooms that are made out of, it seems like plastic. They are falling apart. They have to be replaced. My understanding, and if I'm wrong in any of my numbers, please correct me. We had a estimate of $21,000 to have the panels replaced with powder coated steel that would be custom fabrications. That seemed a bit egregious, right? That was at 21,000, Patty, right?
That was for,
Okay.
just to be clear, that was for all of those panels and all of the shutters around the entire structure.
Okay.
Got you. Okay, so I went out there and looked at it. The shutters, they seem okay. You could probably get away with it for a little while. The blue shutters, the small ones, if you look at the picture on the that I have supplied there, it's
Mhm.
these big 4 by 6 foot panels that are in between the bathrooms that I'm referring to.
Yeah.
If you look at it, I went on, this is just from Home Depot. You can get these anywhere between $180 all the way up to $300. I would recommend using powder coated aluminum or powder coated metal, steel, and then using stainless steel fasteners to attach it. I've gone out there and looked at it. I'll do the labor myself. And if we get 6 of these panels, I'm thinking my estimate would be under $1,500. And then what I would further suggest is the savings from the $1,500 to the $21,000, which would give us approximately $19,500. We use that to hire a pool monitor because I'm saving, right? I'm gonna save some money here, but I want to spend it in the pool anyways and get the pool monitor. So we're gonna
Kevin, don't get in front of your
effectively,
skis there, one thing at a time.
Yeah.
come on.
We definitely need a pool monitor of some kind, but let's make that a
If we're
separate
gonna
issue.
Fabricate these and that, then I would be all right.
So, but if you guys agree that, you know, if you guys, these are just some examples. If you guys agree that this is okay, there's even one that has like little palm trees. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, that
Yeah.
panel is all palm trees. I will volunteer my time and my know-how to remove and install all of these, thereby saving all the labor. I think it'll be maybe a couple $100 in materials beyond the panels themselves for stainless steel fasteners. I don't think it'd be more than $100, maybe 150 stainless steel, depending on what the cost is. But I'll go get all that and I'll install these. It should take me, you know, a weekend morning to do it. I'll love to have any volunteers who want to come and help me do it, but I can do it myself too.
I'll bring coffee.
All right. So if you guys want to pick one out, we can get this rolling and get it done.
Well, which one do you think would be the sturdiest?
Of all of these, and looking at them, I think it depends on how much airflow you want. I don't think airflow is really a big issue for it.
No.
So you could go with, like I said, the one with the palm trees is kind of a nice touch in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to go with that theme, since we took the palm trees out. Otherwise, I would go with either one of the 3 on the bottom row, center to right. So you have 300, 179, 179. The $300 one is more expensive because of the intricacy and then the material. But even at $300, it's still going to come out to, like I said, about $1,500.
And that one has, you can sort of like, I'm sorry, go ahead, April.
April, do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
No, sorry.
So that $300, so that one is got more, you can see through it better, is that right? Am I reading that?
Yes.
Right, so I think that's not negative, you know, because it just, but I would, you know, the reason they're getting kicked out, so, I mean, I don't want these things to get banged up and bent out and everything else, so, my personal opinion is I think that one looks pretty cool. But we could go with palms.
It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
It really doesn't. I think, again, I think what's happening to them is they're getting kicked out, balls are hitting them and stuff like that. So the more solid the construction, the more solid the pattern inside, the less likely it's going to be to bend or break.
Right. So then
Right.
maybe, what do you think about the one to the left of the palm?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I actually, that was kind of my preference, that one or the one in the bottom, the last 2 in the bottom right were my preference.
Anybody else have a strong
Okay,
feeling?
that's
We've
it.
got 3 people that like the second one from the right.
I'd like to do something that looks a little tropical, not so geometric, but that's just my personal opinion.
I'm just feeling very Middle Eastern right now.
I
Well,
was that if we get something with too much pattern, sometimes it can look dated in a few years, so. you know, be careful of the patterns, because they can, that starts to date it, I think, in the design, but.
What about the fourth one from the right? It's got a bit of a pattern, but it's
Kind of hard to tell from these pictures, right?
we gotta make it.
The one in the middle is pretty, I just worry about it's, you know, if kids are kicking those things, then.
You're talking about the one between the two of them.
You're talking
Yeah.
about the
Well,
top.
if a kid is gonna kick one of these with a barefoot, they're gonna break a toe.
Yeah,
They're metal, yeah.
They're steel. They're usually powder coated steel or they're powder coated aluminum. So they're a metal. What's in there now is just plastic, and you can push them through with your fingers, and they're put together with plastic.
right.
Yep, yes. Well, I'm good.
So. Approve it, we wanna do something like approve up to $2,500 for Kevin to pick a pattern, then he can pick one. Or two or three. And then email those specific ones out to the board, and we can say, yeah, we like this one, no, we don't like that one.
Yeah.
I feel like we can reasonably
Take a-
voice opinions
Yes,
over
yeah,
email on
yeah,
that, but the money we need to vote on here.
Wait,
Yeah, that sounds good.
need Jason to fly him to get the stainless steel.
Done. I'll find something big enough to pick him up in.
From the Home Depot in Key West.
Anyhow,
That's right.
yeah, so, I mean, yes, you wanna make a motion and I'll. second.
Or do we want him to buy one and then bring it to the meeting and then we can all look at it? No,
No, let's just get it done.
Yeah,
Alright.
I agree.
I
It looks
agree.
so bad. We just.
I mean,
it does look really bad, right?
It's like every time I drive by it, I'm just like, oh. those
Okay.
things look
I
awful.
would feel okay trusting Kevin's judgment to pick one
Yeah.
and buy the 6 and install them.
Alright.
It sounds like a budget of up to $2,000 would be plenty.
Yeah, I think that would be more than enough.
Okay, I move that we give Kevin a budget of $2,000 and have him pick and install them and
Can we do
encourage
20
him to send out a notice to solicit volunteers.
I think it'll only cost about 50, but even the most expensive one. So
Yeah, particularly those top ones are 180, so yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Jason, I agree with you. I second your motion, sir.
Right, all in favor, Jason's motion, say aye.
I
Any opposed?
No, get them fixed.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no,
all
that's,
right.
yeah, and if you need a hand, and you know, I'll probably be in Ireland or Iceland, so I'll just think of you.
You know what? Guinness. Just have a Guinness for me, and I'll be happy.
All right, you got it,
Is
sir.
there something that you're not gonna be on this year?
This is more something just opening for discussion rather than a vote. Let's talk about a pool attendant. And we're just gonna have a discussion. I don't think anything's been approved yet. Really, the only thing on the table right now is $35 an hour from Securitas to provide somebody and for an 8-hour shift, and we'll do as many days as we want to do. I know there's a lot of other options, maybe. The previous board was unable to find anybody that would do it for that, a decent amount of money that was worth paying to do it, that would show up regularly and that, so. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. It seems, I've gotten a couple complaints from people in the community. We all saw that email that one person sent.
Mhm.
Saying, you know, there's a party there. There were 2 parties this past weekend alone at the pool, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. That basically dominated the pool, and our pool policy is each family is only allowed to have 4 guests per family. So that right there would kind of indicate that you can't have a party unless you're only bringing 4 people. So we've had other things like dogs in the pool. We've had, you know, people smoking cigars at the pool. We've had all kinds of just things that need to be addressed. And then not to mention, we don't know, like the speculation is that people from outside the community are using the pool. I think this is probably true, judging from the fact that I think Patty said she saw people walking with towels and flip-flops from our pool over to the community behind us. So is it a huge problem? No statistical analysis has been done on it yet. It's just anecdotal. So at this point, I open the floor for anybody's ideas or discussion.
I was over there to look at all of this stuff, and as I was going through the gate, there's a group of kids that came up, most of which were under the age of 14, which is I think that's the age for the pool to be used without an adult supervised. And when I asked the girl for her key fob, she didn't have one.
Hmm.
So I would agree with you that, and that's not to say that she didn't belong there, but there were definitely kids that were not there of age, and there were definitely not, they did not have the right fob to get in. So I said, sorry, I can't let you in, and close the gate. I don't think that that happens with most people, because I don't think anybody wants to have any kind of altercation. So I think having somebody there who is an adult, not a high school student or, you know, a college student, but somebody who's an adult who other adults will not maybe push around as much, to have them monitor entry and into the pool. Because we do have what, 4 access points, the main gate and 2 on the sides and 1 on the back. So people coming in through those access gates, when I first moved here 6 years ago, when you walked in, somebody checked you in. And if you walked in through one of the other 3 entrances, they walked over to you and asked you who your name was and what your address was, to prove that you belong there. And if you couldn't answer that and you couldn't show your little ID tag, you were asked to leave. So I think that's important. It's the crown jewel, as we all say, of our community. It's obviously a very expensive crown jewel, is looking at the repair bills that we're looking at right now, excess of $400,000. I think it requires some kind of security measures to keep it safe, keep it, you know, maintained, and make sure that the people who are paying for it are there to be able to use it, but the people who aren't.
Awesome.
That's all I have to say.
Other opinions?
I agree that we need some kind of oversight there. I think it is being abused. I think it's some people from outside our community, and certainly the conduct isn't necessarily appropriate. I had this job in high school as a 14, 15-year-old in my community. It only had one entry control point, which helped, but everybody coming in had to sign in with me, and it was a fantastic, you know, kid job. I got $5.35 an hour, and I was thrilled back then. Anybody we hire doesn't have a whole lot of actual authority. You know, worst case they can say is, you don't belong here, please leave. And if the people ignore them, really all I can do is call the cops. We need somebody who's going to have, you know, feel comfortable having a tactful, polite confrontation with people on a regular basis. But I think it could potentially be a kid. The security company quoted us $35 an hour for 8-hour shifts. That's $280 a day. If we did 100 days, which is basically the summer, that's $28,000. If we did every day of the year, that would be $102,000. It's very expensive. Even at, you know, minimum wage, $15 an hour for a local teenager, that comes out to $68,000 if it's every day of the year, or just the summer would be about 20 grand. Still very expensive. I don't even know if we can afford that. I would rather pay kids in the community to be part of the community. And I think I'd rather pay members of our community than strangers if we can. Those are my thoughts.
Can I make a suggestion? Yes. I like the thought process, and like you gave me the idea when you said what you did. So can we disable the gates on the 3, or just have 2? And what if we ended up having 2 monitors? One that's floating on the south side, one that's floating on the north side, but you have to sign in, like your community.
Yeah.
And you have to, you have to come up and say, I am in such and such at this address, and you sign it in. They have a lock. And then, okay, how many people do you have? I think if people got used to doing it, they'd be like, yeah, that's just the procedure, and when you go up, you sign in. But short of having some kind of system like that, I think I would be hesitant to think that a teenager is gonna be able to handle the contemporary climate for the thought concept, reaction to controls on the phone. I guess that's how I would say it.
It's a very polite way to put it.
Right.
Well, and to Mac's point, as people get used to it, maybe then we could transition to having maybe somebody who's not a professional security person or not an adult. But in the beginning, I think because it has been so lax and so open, you're going to have a lot of pushback when somebody has invited 8 of their friends over and they're bringing, 10 kids to the pool and there's 1 adult, and then they're going to leave to say, hey, listen, you can't do this. you're entitled, 4 guests per home and you're past the maximum, I'm sorry, you can't come in. Until they get used to that and know that we are enforcing the rules, I think it's a big task, a big ask for a teenager.
Concur.
So here's my thought. Paying $35 an hour for pool monitor is obnoxious.
Yes,
From a comparative, if you went to any other pool on the planet, there's no way that anybody's paying that much. What I would suggest, I agree with the comments that having a teenager do it, is probably less effective than having an adult there. Maybe not in this climate. But what I was thinking is that we look at $14 or $15 an hour, which is probably pretty reasonable. It's a good summer paying job. We can go to a temp agency like Randstad or Adecco or Career Source, which are very common, very prevalent. They probably have a lot of candidates that they could suggest, so we could get somebody quickly. And then we have our security, service. And then if the pool monitor finds somebody who is not cooperative or who is combative, they are on site, they call the security person. The security person is then following their protocol to call the cops. So that way we're not paying through the nose for a pool monitor, and we still have the support with the security officer on duty.
But our security guy is at night, not during the day.
yeah.
I think it's great. That's the whole point. It's, and to be honest with you, my wife said, go over there. I'm like, there's like 50 people. And it's not even on the HOA property. Like, I'm gonna walk over and say, we can't have it here because it's CBD property and I'm with the HOA board. That's the whole point of the security guy diffuses it to a degree. It takes it to people out. So out of it. That's my concern. That's my concern.
I don't know. And I think if we offer it for $14 or $15 an hour, I think, you can have people who are not teenagers apply. There's still people who will do that. It's, and we can make that stipulation that we want somebody who's, of age and has a little bit of authority and can compose themselves in, tensious situations, but, or contentious situations, I should say. But I just feel like paying $35 an hour and we don't have the money for it.
Also that.
At the end of the day, we don't have the money for it. This is not planned budget, right? So, even to do $14 an hour for 30 hours a week, which is sort of just having somebody during peak hours. I was thinking, okay, 12 weeks, that is about $8,000. We have money budgeted in pool management that we could potentially use. So if we wanted to go further, or if we needed to, maybe somebody's sick during the day, or if we wanted to do an early shift and a late shift or something of that nature, we might need to have two. So I think we have about $20,000 that we budgeted in that cost center for that account for this year that we haven't spent. That's, budgeted money up to this point in the year that we have not used, right? So we could potentially use that to pay for the pool monitor, and that's really only considering 12 weeks over the summertime, and we're gonna have the highest volumes there. But we could look at, maybe continuing that over weekends or something, during the school year as a potential option. But $35 an hour, that's $100,000 a year. We don't have, unless we're gonna budget for that next year, we just don't have the money.
Or we don't rebuild the pool.
We're not rebuilding the pool anyway with that quote.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do 7 days a week, but I would think that. Well, first off. I'd want to see some analysis that this is actually a problem.
Mhm.
Are people from outside of the neighborhood actually accessing our pool, right? So I would want to, at least in some way, shape, or form, find a way to measure that. And whether that's one of us stands there at the pool on a Saturday and checks fobs for 4 hours, and then somebody else comes in and does it for the next 4 hours, or what? But I don't want to dump $50,000 or $10,000 into something that we don't know is a problem.
Mhm.
Well, I actually have another suggestion, which is if you did that go with the teenager or someone at $15 an hour. what if you put it out to the community and says, well, everybody's complaining about this. And we're going to hire a pool monitor. Are you, community, are you willing to have people volunteer to assist this person? They don't have to be, they can be at the pool reading and relaxing, but when something happens, they're willing to do it.
I feel the same way I feel about that as we did about Neighborhood Watch. Neighborhood Watch was a big no-no. Just like from the HOA sponsoring a Neighborhood Watch, we're basically sponsoring a Neighborhood Watch for the pool. And, you know, it's like, it's much better to have. This is why the company is the best option. They have their own insurance, right? They're not a Neighborhood Watch. It's not a neighbor that's gonna go out there and,
Okay, I was just,
it's,
I do think, though, we absolutely need to send a communication out and say, these are the rules. If you're caught doing this, you will be asked to leave. If you're, just, restating, like,
right.
if you have children, you need to reiterate this to your children. If your children have friends, they are not to bring, each family is entitled to 4 people. If they are here, if they are ruckus, if they're rowdy, they will be escorted out, essentially.
And then that's a really good point. The question is asked to leave by whom?
Well, I mean, if we have a monitor.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, we do need to reiterate and state the rules, and I think,
Yes.
there's a lot of people who move in and out. There's probably not a lot of people who are reading the rules, in detail. So I think this is probably something that we have done in the past. I remember communications. I think this is something we should do every year or every 6 months and just remind people of community rules and, etiquette.
great.
As we move into the summer season, here's a reminder of our community rules.
Could we look at,
Are there signs on the outside of the pool, like it says if you are not a resident, you are not welcome or something, type of thing?
Residents only.
I think it says pool.
Yeah. could Mac had a good idea about limiting access? Like closing the other 3 gates, so the only way is in through the main entrance. And by doing just the main entrance, you basically have a funnel wherever you see everybody coming in and going out. Is that something that we could look at? Because then again, by doing that, you make it easier for a single monitor to monitor everybody and just say, I need your name, your address, and how many people are in your group.
But I'm just wondering how effective that will be. Because they don't have fobs and they're getting in. So whether if they don't have a fob.
Well,
they'll just jump
somebody in the
the
pool, or
fence.
jump the fence, or people push the
Yeah.
button, and then 12 people walk in. I mean, it's just, that's what
Right.
they.
Yeah.
Hard.
Mhm.
Someone was holding
Right.
it,
And
people just walking in and walking out. I mean, it just, without a monitor, it's unlikely to get under control.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Mark,
So-
you said you'd like to research and get some data.
Yeah.
What if as part of that, it could be us going there and sitting at the pool for hours and hours. Maybe we could ask for volunteers in the community, maybe call it a committee, and have them, volunteer to spend a few hours at the pool, just gathering data. They're not the enforcers. They're just going to stop by and talk to everybody and say, hey, where are you from? We're doing the survey for the board. Where do you live? And they could help us gather data, and that would be a free thing. And we'd be getting buy-in from the community on it, just as a possibility.
Yeah, it's an option. That's an option. We could do that. Ask her volunteers, and someone would have to run them. Do we collect the data? The key fobs too, also when you buzz in, it gives you, I don't know if anybody's aware of this or not, but you buzz in with your key fob, it records your name, the time you came in, it takes a picture of you. So if you look like Frank and you key in with the key fob that says Jane, we kind of know that it's probably not yours. So yeah, the other option is, rather than, we could hire a pool attendant for just the weekends for a month. And just spend 1 month on it and then reevaluate at that point. That's an option too. I'm not saying we have to make a decision tonight, but we need some options here. As if you go back and you look at the Facebook and you scan it and you search for pool, there are lots and lots of historical complaints about this.
Yeah, there are.
So just putting it out there for consideration.
I think you might have hit on something. So if we hired somebody just for 1 month, say, and just did the weekends and use them to gather the information, so nobody's sitting at the pool, because while we do like to have community, I think my phone's dying. Hang on.
What happened?
He had to put his phone was dying.
Oh.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, yeah, you guys killed one of my AirPods. If we get just for a month and had somebody monitor that and close the three other entrances and had them monitor who's coming in, write it all down, and use that as a study as to who's coming in, how many people have been turned away, because they'd have to do that too. How many people have you turned away?
Yep.
We could use that then and then go back to the community and say, hey, listen, we did a study. This is the results of that study. There were this many people found who didn't belong in the neighborhood, this many people who did belong in the neighborhood, this many people used it. We have two options. One is we can, ask everybody to pitch in, because this is how much it's going to cost. If you guys like the pool monitoring, this is how much it's going to cost per household to maintain that. And maybe that's $100 per household, a one-time assessment. I don't know what it would ever be, but then we could go back and with quantifiable evidence of like, this is why we need it, and this is how much it's going to cost, and get in buy-in with the information instead of having volunteers to go into it.
Yeah, the one thing is just be aware that it was my idea, so I own it, but if you close those other three gates, there could be a riot for people to have to walk around to go in the main entrance.
yeah.
Maybe,
Just-
but maybe we communicate.
Just going
that.
on the record for that. Yep.
We probably need to communicate it in a lot of places, right?
Yep.
We put the sign up.
Right.
We've had non-residents abusing, so we're having everybody go through a central entrance. So we put signs up, we send it out on Facebook,
Yep,
we
yep,
send out
yep,
a community
yep, yep.
notification.
Right.
Get John Loving good at Bullhorn too.
We're right.
Could we just do
Just-
two entrances? Just the
Uh,
front and the two main
Well,
entrances as opposed to the sides.
April,
April,
say
what?
it again, I couldn't hardly hear you.
Sorry, I have my headphones died too, so I had to put a different set on. Hopefully you can hear me. Is it possible to do two entrances instead of the side ones, just the front and the back? That way people who come in from the side, I mean, it's easier just to, it's not as big of a walk to go to the front entrance. Or if you're coming in the back, you get through the back way, like.
If they came in at either side, instead of having the side gates open, she's saying one or the other instead of just the one gate. So you had the front or the back.
Yeah, but then you need two people. That's the thing.
Right. And if we tell everybody it's a temporary.
And honestly, so here's my perspective. I remember going to the pool when there was a pool monitor and I'm sitting there with my family. It's always like, do you belong here? I mean, it's.
I hated that. I hate it.
What I'm saying. So I would prefer to have to go around to a gate and check in than somebody coming over when I'm laying there in my bathing suit and asking me for my,
Right, that's what I mean. And
ID.
I agree. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And if we communicate it to the community saying, hey, listen, we heard you. We're listening. We understand that you guys all think this is an issue and we're going to try to fix it. And bear with us as we collect the data for a month. So the other gates, please don't let anybody in. They're going to be closed. And what we're going to do is force everybody in and out so that we can monitor the process. We can monitor who's coming and going so that we can make an informed decision about our next steps. I think with that understanding, I think the community understands that we're trying to do what is our responsibility, which is protect our property and make sure that those people who are paying for it are the ones using it.
Right.
Because I think, and that way there's no dogs coming in, there's no people smoking cigars, there's no balls allowed in there. So maybe there's no kids being, completely rowdy, crazy kids and that are being disrespectful to everybody. So I think at the end of the day, having somebody there to do that, and if we do it as a pilot program for a month, then take community comments. And then we could also, from those community comments, we could give feedback and say, this is what we found when we did this monitoring.
And Kevin, can I jump in? I think
Yeah.
also is, it also, it also sends the message to people, if people are trying to get in, after a few times of being met at the door to say, and could you sign in? What's your address? What's your name? And then people will start saying, well, I can't sneak in anymore, so it doesn't become the place to hang out. I mean,
Right.
that's an option too. But
Right.
Okay.
Once they know that they can't get away with it, they'll stop doing it.
right, hopefully.
To go
I agree
somewhere
with
else.
you, Mac. Yeah, go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's cockroaches in an apartment in New York City. All you want to do is drive into another apartment. You don't want them in your.
So if we hired the security company to do that, weekends only for 8-hour shifts, my math says it's about $2,300. I like Rebecca's idea of asking a temp agency if we could find somebody to do it for less, 15 bucks an hour, 20 bucks an hour. That would cut that down to about $1,000 to do it for 1 month as a pilot program. I think it might be worth looking into that.
Okay.
I agree.
Let's aim to, let's aim to come up with some good solutions by the next board meeting, and then we can implement our study June 1st. Let's aim
Sounds
for
good.
that, set that in the. As us in,
As an agenda item, I like it.
then we'll see if we can find temp agencies, we'll have Patty talk to the security company, be like, hey, here's what we wanna do. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll monitor for 8 hours, we need your people to keep stats on the interventions, which they do a pretty good job anyways. So that's option one, and then option two is if we can find a temp agency. I've never worked with a temp agency, so I don't know how that would work out for us.
It's simple, they invoice us
Yeah.
for whatever the hours. are.
We would need somebody with a clean background check.
Yeah, they go through all of it.
Okay,
That's
Yeah.
the added benefit of going full temp agency. They pay the benefits, they pay the tax, we just pay an invoice.
I like it.
We have a people.
yeah, so let's see if we can get that too. That's a good
It's a
idea.
labor contract.
That's what it is, yeah.
And then we need to, just a CYA, check with George, see what he says about us hiring a pool attendant. Does that person also need to be a lifeguard? Even though we're not advertising lifeguard services, is the assumption that since we have somebody there, if somebody assumes that they're a lifeguard, could that in any way, come back on the
Yeah.
HOA? So do we need to hire somebody that's also lifeguard certified, but not to function as a lifeguard? You know, I'm getting at, so we just asked George his opinion on
It's a
that.
good
We
idea.
we need
Jeff.
to add them to the insurance policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with the other ones, we're not. The other people were just purely a gate monitor, and
I think George can confirm that for us pretty easily, but I don't think it'll be required.
Starts swinging and they hit somebody, we.
All right, all good stuff. I think we can table that for now, go on to the next thing. Unless anybody has anything else to say. I think we got a way forward for that. All right, pool attendant, we did, I think we're on the Sandpiper Crest, are we not?
How about the trees here in the community, right around here, 4,800?
We got tree removal, lake house tree removal, 6 dangerous trees marked in area.
Yeah.
Does anybody see?
That's already done, right? Or no?
No,
We have some more trees to remove.
Oh, okay.
I checked the budget, we have funds for it, so.
Okay. I'm trying to find it. Patty, what's the quote for that?
$4,800 even,
How much?
4,800.
$4,800 for 6 trees. Like that's a bargain compared to what, again, don't tell him that.
No, because she's not.
Right. I paid double that to get one tree removed at my rental house.
I know, I was gonna say we were gonna pay $10,000 for the,
Yeah.
for the 2 trees.
Come down, move the pool. All right,
maybe we can replant them. So they,
yeah. Motion is $4,800 to remove 6 trees from around the lake house. Is there a second?
Second.
Max seconds. He beat you to it. Sorry, Jason.
It's okay.
Any discussion? None? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I think one other thing, sorry, I was just looking at the thing. One other comment on the pool monitor I'm sorry to go back to this, but I was just reading through it. We would be required to pay an 8-hour shift in 40 hours a week. So we wouldn't have flexibility on the schedule. So if we only wanted to do 30,
Mhm.
That's
something to check with security house. Does it have to be a 40-hour week?
mhm,
Because that's their quote, right?
that was their quote.
Yeah, so does it have to be? Could it be just 3 days? Could be 2 days.
I thought it was, you
Yeah.
could do it just by the day. The security.
We can,
I thought you could just say
we can get some other quotes and we can go back to Securitas and ask them.
full time. It was just, you could have them on the weekends. But yeah, the $35 and it's an 8-hour day, but you could pick the days. That's what I read it, but.
Yeah, let's get clarification from them. All right, Sandpiper Crest. What are we looking at here for $1,500? It's a new Hunter cellular communication module for their irrigation.
So they have one location where they have the pump. This would give access to pretty much the same thing we're doing over at Billy's and Sagewood. It's just in one location. So we can look at all of the,
So it's a centralized, computerized control for the
Irrigation.
irrigation system.
thank you,
Okay, is that right?
that's perfect.
Okay.
Is this a necessity for Ballinger or is it just a nice to have for them?
It's a nice to have for us, actually. Yeah, it is for Ballinger too.
What's the benefit to us?
This way, yeah, we can control the water. We can just go to the one central location. And see if there is a leak, if it's underground, if they're not around. We can turn it off. We can have our own access.
But not we. Baxter, right?
No, I mean us.
Oh, you too?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if there's a broken sprinkler head, we can go over there and just turn it off.
You don't even have to go. It can be done from here, correct?
Remotely.
It's.
That's why it's cellular.
Monitor the sandpiper,
Sandpiper.
you know, and say somebody ran over it, there's a leak, you could shut that zone off. So you'll pay for it in water probably in a year.
And I assume this is for the HOA common areas over there, not for the individual properties, is that correct? Or is this for all properties?
Sandpiper is all common.
Yeah, they don't have individual.
We should get rid
I
of
mean-
it. Mhm.
But there's different zones, right? So
Mhm.
is this for all zones?
Yes.
Okay,
This is the.
for the entire community.
Yeah.
I think Mac made a good point. The water savings alone would probably pay for it in a year with a couple broken sprinkler heads.
That's what I was gonna say.
How's your budget looking?
It's good.
It's good?
Yeah.
Treasurer says $1,500 is good.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
With Jason.
Jason,
Any opposed? None opposed.
everybody eyed.
Nay.
Black aluminum fence surrounding the corner of Barrington Stars. All right, we got it. We're looking at that one corner in Barrington Stars where previously we had a quote to put $6,000 worth of hedges in to thicken the hedge so that people didn't run through people's backyards. We said, okay, well, $6,000 for trees, how much is a fence? And so we got a quote for the fence, and that came in at what, Patty?
25,500.
$25,500 to put a fence from corner to corner. There it is, Family Fence Company.
That's 554 feet along Barrington Stairs and then 236 feet.
That's by the apartments, right?
Yes.
That loops around.
I like holly bushes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we don't have for it here anyway.
Okay,
So,
then it's off the table then. This is Sandpaper Crest. They don't have the money in that one. Okay.
not that much.
I don't personally want to put hedges in that are just gonna, $6,000 worth of hedges that are just gonna get trampled again.
Is it the individual property owners that don't want people on their property? Cause they're welcome to put up a fence of their own, right? Or hedges of their own?
I think that's HOA property out there.
Oh, is it all?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are
So-
these are the townhomes, so everything outside the house is pretty much.
Us.
community. Well.
And so are the kids walking on HOA property?
They're walking on HOA property and then in between people's houses to get into Sandpiper Crest.
Can I
Uh-huh.
ask?
Yes.
I'm curious, like. Should we put a sidewalk there if that many people are walking through there?
Yeah.
And by entering there, those people.
And that way
Well,
we
I-
can put it through.
I've driven through there. It's on the corner. And so it's people walking through the houses, between the houses. So you can't really put a sidewalk in between the houses, right? Because then, I mean, if I were the guy living in the townhome and all of a sudden you put a sidewalk next to my backyard where I sit outside, I'd be really angry if it wasn't there when I bought it.
There's lots of,
See, here,
there's lots of.
this is the area right here.
Yeah.
So they're coming through this and then walking.
Oh, so
through
there's not
houses.
even a place to put it.
Yeah, and then going this way through here.
Yeah, because they have it at the other end by the circle.
Mhm.
This is at the other end by the apartments.
Right.
Yeah, I know, I'm familiar with where it is. I was just thinking like, sort of corner, from the corner in between those two houses, there's a space, but it's really not big enough on where the driveways come through. So if they're walking through there, they can have a space to go out of the community, you know what I'm saying, instead of jumping over the hedges. It's probably more than, this is probably just as much as a fence though, honestly.
Yeah. So no fence, and we can take a vote on the hedges to see what people think. $6,000 for fences or for hedges. How do we know this is a problem? Have the neighbors complained
Mhm.
or?
And you can see the way it looks. I mean, these people complain all the time. They can't walk
Yeah.
outside without people. Kids walking in.
I feel like there must be some other solution that doesn't cost $6,000. That's still a lot of money.
I know, for 30 sweet viburnum, so they're gonna install 15-gallon viburnum.
That's
So
why they're
these-
big.
They're already 38 inches tall.
If you.
So those are mature bushes.
It's gonna be
There's a
hopping
step
over
up.
it, you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, reverse limbo.
What if,
I-
what did like a fence just on the corner, like 30 feet up, 30 feet across? To deflect
They'll just go
it?
around it. They'll just go
Yeah.
around it. I remember being a kid with stuff like that, even with the bushes. I just turn around backwards, go backpack first and push right through.
Yeah, I knew you were the problem.
I am.
Yeah.
I think there must be a more effective solution that is also cheaper.
Nothing there to do, there's nothing there to do the hedge, it's just, a lot of money for a hedge.
That may or may
Which
not.
is effectively gonna get ruined again because
Yeah.
there's no deterrent. If they've gone through this existing hedge and we're just gonna replace it with they've already gone through, but just more of it, I don't see why they wouldn't do what Jason said, just push right through it.
We need a different solution.
Could buy a paintball gun for each house and they're welcome to sit on their back porch. And
Do we wanna? Do you wanna vote on it, or you just wanna table it? Just table it,
What,
all right.
wait, was there no option to put in a holly bush? I don't know. Was that determined not?
Only bush.
No, we can't put in a holly bush.
holly bushes are
Damn it.
$7,000.
Right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
they have stickers and the kids won't go through them.
That's,
What's a wasp?
that's the last thing. So now we circle back to Summerfest. And so how much do we want to approve for a summer festival, or do we even want to have a summer festival? That is the question we're at, so the.
So
Yes,
I'll go back to my earlier statement. I said $5,000.
Quick, legal search. Go for it, $350 the rock wall from Easter was $1,706.65. The DJ's $800 and water side is. That almost $1,000, that's already.
I would imagine
It's probably.
the water side is probably like $300 or $400. At least my guess, and depending on how big it is, I
No,
guess.
you can't get that really deep. Yeah.
I can't really hear well. What's the total for all those things?
So could you come up a little bit maybe, just because they're having trouble hearing you in the background? Sorry.
how about? We just have to stand up and score in the garden, it's like I did.
Yeah, close to $1,000, and that's without quotes.
Without,
That's without real solid quotes.
right, so, but,
That's why I asked for almost 5, just
Right,
so that I could
5,000.
cover things.
Right. Yeah, because we have to have the gravel ring for the Toyota car.
Oh, the raffle, yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin, I think you're the one who reapproached to say, why don't we just do a budget of $5,000? Like,
Yes, I go back to my original
Yeah.
budget of $5,000 not to exceed.
I would agree with that.
can we make a motion? Is that his motion? So can I say?
That is my
second?
motion.
But
And I'll be happy to second it.
discussion?
Discussion,
So
I always look to the trigger.
what if we
Then the
What if we
budget-
approve this for this event at $5,000, but for future events, we just make sure that everybody communicates further in advance with a little bit more detail so the board can have a little bit more context and detail before we approve for future events. Can we add that to it?
There's a liaison of the board, so the liaison, I'm assuming, right, should contact the chair and then they can communicate. Had I not said anything, we wouldn't be having this discussion. There's a liaison, right? Like the liaison's supposed to liaise to the board. Isn't that why there's a liaison? Is that not the purpose?
Right, and that occurred starting at 10 a.m. today, which isn't quite enough time, so we need to do it further in advance.
Committee chair. For a minute, and I haven't heard from the liaison ever. So I don't understand. Moving forward, the question was, can we approve the 5,000 budget? That's all I'm asking for.
to plan something over 2 months in advance. I am bringing it to the board ahead of time and doing my due diligence to get it approved. So. More than 2 months, you want it further, you want to make make you aware of it more than 2 months in advance.
All I'm saying is if I was presenting something like this for my daughter's scout troop or for her school or something, I would show up with a spreadsheet of saying, here are the 3 or 4 major things that I'm going to have, and here are the major cost areas. And that's why I'm going to ask for this much. I'm not thinking, nickels and dimes and nuts and bolts.
If I had that time and I had that flexibility, that would be a perfect role. But we are presented at this present time with what we are presented with, and this is moving forward. I brought you something over 2 months in advance, and I'm asking the board ahead of time, well ahead of time. Hey, here's what we're thinking. We're gonna meet, we're gonna plan, we're gonna discuss. We can try to do better for future, but here's where we're at. This is what we're working with. So
That's what I'm saying. Approve
Going back-
the 5,000 tonight, but just as a community, try to do better communication in the future on it.
I'll try to get it over 2 months. Get things approved more than ahead of time than more than 2 months in the future, sure.
All right, motion, second vote. All in favor?
Right.
Any opposed?
I did have one alibi. Are they?
You cannot abstain according to the bylaws. You must vote.
Jason?
I voted in favor.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see it. Sorry, April?
That was a new
I
law.
didn't
just
see
discovered.
anything.
You cannot abstain. Did you know that?
For that.
We used to do it all the time with the old book, but you actually cannot. Is it, did everybody say yes?
Is everybody yes?
Yes.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter.
Everybody's a yes?
Yes.
Everybody's a yes. Okay, great. Motion carries.
Sorry, there's on some of the screens, there's a black space, so hands don't always get seen. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else on the budget for the night?
I think it was only we talked about the maple tree.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that threw me off too. We voted on that.
No old business, community comments, ma'am.
Well, I've been sitting here listening, so first of all, I have some new construction background. I think these school companies, first of all, how do you find them? I was sitting there, it's like North Orlando, I don't know why they cover the shop. But I sent the text message to a friend of mine who her bill, actually they put in like reviews and all that stuff, to see maybe they have a contact would be less expensive. I think for every time that you have a big number like this, you should get at least the estimate. I just had a friend who had an estimate for fencing, one company gave a $10,000 estimate, the other one gave $5,000. It's a big difference, so that would be one.
What are you talking about for the fence?
Huh?
No, we saw that.
I'm talking about the pool. So I think you should tell if the estimates to be through the pool or whatever.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If you were going to landscaping around the pool, why would you do that before the pool construction is not over? That is going to be a huge mess. And I don't know if you, what they don't do or not, but it's going to be short some plans. I would personally be, fixing up the bushes around the pool, and resurface, because they would have to take one, piece of fence out, they want to take landscaping out, so. I mean, it would be, seems like it's very that. Trespassing over here, put up a sign, no more trespassing, put up a camera, put up a sign on there, that's for 30 days, so now we're gonna be charging the $50 every time you walk through. They sell paid camera, also it's like a real camera, it belongs to like $1 or something. I think that it's gonna be good about that. Or stand out in here to, the Senpai would say, hey, your kids are trespassing, you can stop it, or we can offer free, and put in a fence or push or whatever. How much it's gonna cost, and I think that's gonna cost you by a lot. So, and we just saw
Yeah, but some of the, if the kids are coming from school,
yeah.
they may be somewhere else in the neighborhood, they're just choosing the most direct route to go to it.
Yeah, I got that, but the people that are no trespassing sign, they should be able to read it because they come to school. And then you can put a big camera next to it, it's $1 at most, and say, hey, 30 years from now, you're gonna be your parents gonna be charged $50 every time trespass, people stop.
I do like your idea of sending an email to everybody saying, hey, this is to that community, because it is that community. Right? This is your community. Don't walk through here. If you continue, it's gonna cost your community 25 grand.
I
No
mean,
offense.
people are not doing that.
Both the kids are from
Yeah. I know.
Pear Village.
People are-
But I'm sorry, I'm intruding on your time to speak, please.
Yeah, people are- I forget about,
Mhm.
and some people, the single family homes for their garage, are backing up to the my garage. And every weekend they have these parties, they think they're doing the same thing, they're running around my property, and you know, whatever, I mean, it's. But I couldn't see anything now. But I get it, I know which exact lots we got, then yeah, we get now put a sidewalk. In windows, because I think those lots actually, we would be getting a sidewalk on it now. Then the other thing, I agree with her, I mean, 60 days should be plenty, you know. Give you a notice, I think anything else, I agree with it. The other thing is the lady over there, at the computer, the beach shirt.
Yes.
Say, I don't know what her name is,
April.
she made a comment, well, you know, what if they didn't spend the money the right way, I'm sorry, but she's the same homeowner like you are over there on board. And how dare you talk about, or even considering that another homeowner did not be honest about this money, I think that's just.
I've done Summerfest, I've done the Easter,
Yeah,
I've done Christmas, the pictures. And
I think you
proofs of-
spend that, you know, 2 months in advance, say, hey, this event is coming out, I'm looking for, more volunteers, I think you're gonna get one. About the pool, you know, I think you could call it a high pool, because every time they're looking for volunteer opportunities, you could get images out for free and then you second 40 hours.
Mhm.
And maybe starting with that, and if that doesn't work, then you want a more expensive option.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah,
I think you provided input on every item we talked about today, so thank you very much.
Thanks for staying so late too.
First, think well. Thanks.
Yeah. The other meeting about the whole construction lawsuit, that's a whole other question, but. And I sent an email to Patty, I have this, background, I think that probably some of his deals come out, to do an assessment to do the years before. You wanna hold this.
Residents meeting.
So, I have the staff number in the email, but the owner of the company, together with us. So, I don't understand, I might start thinking, it's beyond.
They have to,
Huh?
they have to go through the process.
What I'm doing because, but some of the issues that you talk about, they are still on the one thing that we don't need that.
That's, all right, there is one resident online. Do they want to have any comments from the resident online?
Or just click to ask to unmute if they want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, I think we're done then. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Mark, one thing real quick.
Oh.
Mark, do you want to talk at all about the results of the mediation?
Like a what?
No, yeah.
Or can I say anything about them?
Nope.
Nope. It's ongoing.
All right.
Is it,
Right.
did,
All in favor of adjourning?
okay.
Yes,
Aye.
bye.
I voted for 2.
Any opposed? Doesn't sound like it. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.